My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C., and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. All right, this is the mentally ill that are up stalking. This is the entity that is engaging in gang stalking with the military and becomes more obsessed as they're documenting engaging in that psychotic behavior. It is 5:30, so this demon is out monitoring. This is going above and beyond being a gang stalker, and this is the entity that is, again, then hostile when they're documented and observed engaging in what is obsessive behavior. This is mental illness that is undiagnosed. And so this is what I'm telling you, when they're engaging in the pattern of conduct, they're mentally ill. When the entity is documented engaging in their criminal activity, which is centered on obsessing over me, that is when that mental illness is exposed more so. In other words, there's nothing about being accused of stalking when you're engaging in stalking. It's not like you're sitting in a building, minding your business, and I'm in another city and I've never seen you, and I'm busting out on your computer screen making an accusation. You're in the path, you're gang stalking, you're doing so with the military. And when you are engaged in and documented, it is not for a normal person going to motivate them to come into your path every other day and do the same thing over and over again. These are demons. And they are in fact mentally ill. They are stalking, they are obsessed, and this is the one that's going to be homeless. She's sitting outside and is standing around in the dark, silently stalking and watching me, waiting for me to get up, waiting for me to wake up, talking in the background. A stalker. Okay, and this is the entity, what they do when you've been humiliated. But you humiliated yourself for stalking me. That's what's going to happen. Okay, nobody told you to be 85 years old stalking me and you also need the government to pay your rent. I'm going to throw in all those facts while I prosecute you because I'm making a greater point. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that is monitoring, and this is where the stalking here. This is where the military is already present, and those demons are stalkers, and they literally wait for me to make a specific move or say something before they start psychopathic pacing. She's gang stalking right now. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 5:34 a.m. This is of severe mental instability. It's only going to be used against her, and this is unfortunate, but she's doing this to herself. This is P.O.C. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that is a stalker. All right, this is speaking to the reality that the audible activity does not actually have any real connection to what you're visibly seeing, such as the same noise when the demons are rising over the city hall. These are demons that are also monitoring. So as I hold my camera up, which a monitoring spirit is aware of, the entities engaging in the psychopathic pacing is a coward, a psychopath that's also a coward that doesn't want you to see what you already know is happening, which is stalking over the city hall, the senior center, and the John Stewart companies by plane. Still engaged in the crossing of path conduct, but doesn't want to do so in front of the one that they're supposed to be terrorizing and scaring to death with the stalking conduct. They're supposed to do it. Me, and while you're call yourself horrifying me, I'm capturing footage of it in order to have you committed. And the entities engaging what is trying to duck and hide while they're stalking. This is the P.O.C. My video evidence showing the entity engaging in the pattern of conduct. The Ontario City Hall is being prosecuted while the military is repeatedly flying over it. The Ontario Senior Citizen Center is the same, and so is the John Stewart Company, while I am at the OVITT Family Community Library, where the military is concentrating planes engaging in psychopathic behavior, meaning they're stalking and they're monitoring as they are repeatedly stalking in plane after plane after plane. This is criminal monitoring, which is committed in furtherance of murder, not for the criminal purpose of merely following me around and being obsessed. This is a military, which is the people of the state who are occupying these venues and also remaining around them in order to monitor. This is what you have the people of the state at 218 C Street. She's stalking in the path where she lives, the facilitating venue. I've documented inside of the parking garage where you are aware that they are stalking in the path. They're pacing on the roads and the highways, stalking all around the perimeter. They're doing so on foot. They are being prosecuted. It's not based on business hours, and the entity is accomplishing it. That's why they're engaging in the psychopathic pacing in the first place. This is what an entity is doing while they are monitoring evidence as well. It is obstruction while the government is being. This is the same plane activity when all they did actually was engaged in what is a U-turn. Because the demon possessed that are mentally ill don't want you to see their place of origin when they're stalking. They're mentally ill. You already know where they're coming from, and they're doing it right now. That's Southwest at a different elevation. Southwest just engaged in what is hovering. Southwest is coming from the same terminal, and the entity's engaging in what is the pattern of conduct. As you see that there's only one airport, you're coming from the same terminal, you're varying greatly in different elevations, you're engaging in a nuisance in doing so, and you're doing so with the people of the state. Sarah's Regis Group is being documented while a demon is driving into that parking garage, which is stalking by the establishment that is monitored. Okay, monitoring is the inhumane means of surveillance and furtherance of murder. No business, no establishment, no person has any right to engage in presence in the path, and that's based on where you are living. You're monitoring with the government. It's a surveillance system, and you're also engaging in it. That's why the fake sun is over the city hall, setting at the city hall, remaining over me, and coming back in the middle of the afternoon over to the Ontario City Hall. You will be prosecuted. There is no place of belonging where you have any umbrella of protection while the government's engaging in monitoring, which the U.S. military, who are incompetent homosexuals, engaging in the pattern of conduct, and their homosexuality is directly relevant to the mental illness. Their HIV infected state is directly relevant to their mental illness. They engage in a reckless lifestyle, which they believe enables them to successfully engage in this criminal activity. And this is the entity that is mentally ill. All right, the sex cult that is gang stalking, calling itself the U.S. military. This is the P.O.C. This is relevant to the mental illness of the senior citizen that is a resident at the John Stewart Company who is going to be committed. Okay, the more that she's documented, that is, the more that I document the demons, the more obsessed with me that they become, which is directly confirming the criminal activity that I documented in the first place. And it is more evidence exhibiting severe mental instability. And no sane person, number one, is stalking. No sane person is monitoring. And no sane person that is even accused of that will engage in more of the same the next day, or is then incentivized to do more and more of it under any circumstances. This is an entity that is in every regard showing its need for being committed. This is the P.O.C., and that is psychopathic pacing. While you saw Southwest at a higher elevation and you saw another plane flying at a lower elevation, this is all supposedly traffic from the Ontario International Airport, where the entity maintains no argument, and it is a matter of judicial notice. It's a judicially noticed fact that the airport is not maintaining flights flying west from the housing community when the airport is at 2500 Airport Road, and the entity has not conducted any takeoff where they are hovering over this venue. But I want to be clear, they're being prosecuted while the entity is flying over. This is evidence that's going against each of the venues, and they will be defunded, and they will be federally prosecuted for terrorism, okay? This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's stalking in the path with light on the roads and the highways, Wells Fargo and downtown Ontario luxury apartments, while the entity is stalking with light. All right, and this is what they're doing at 218 C Street as well. I already documented her in the images. This is the P, and this is Southwest airline plane. They're coming from Terminal 4. What Southwest Airlines is doing is stalking, and that's why you have that variance in what is inconsistent with coming from the same airport and engaging in what is going to be substantially identical, a takeoff from the airport in the direction west, which is not going to result in being over 4 miles northwest of the airport to be hovering over or flying at a heightened elevation where you can still see the color of the plane. That's still, the entity has still not conducted a takeoff. They're just flying a little bit higher. The entity is engaging in stalking, and they're doing engineer light. As I'm analyzing all this, this is an engineer light. That's not sunlight. They're monitoring. And that crime scene, this environment is prosecuting the venue, which is filled with third parties who are engaging in monitoring. The government cannot engage in criminal monitoring without presence, and that presence is criminal. Monitoring is criminal, and monitoring is occurring in furtherance of murder. Murder that's committed by that same entity that is monitoring and would like to suggest that they have a right, expressly and impliedly, which is absurd, and it is evidence of mental illness. This is an entity that is caught, engaged in bare bones, sick and criminal behavior, corrupt behavior, and have then engaged in what is a failed an unpersuasive campaign exhibiting what is instability that threatens national security, that they have any basis to have a right to do so, or that they've been engaging in it for decades without their knowledge or without their inclusion. This is the entity that's going to be subject to martial law. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:07 a.m. P.O.C. All right, this is a matter of judicial notice regarding the volume of the plane activity, the elevation. You can see the color, you can see the logo. This is the entity that's gang stalking, flying over a senior citizen complex, doing so at the OVITT Family Community Library, looking at a plane taking off, and this is at 6:25 a.m. And the entity is engaging in this repetitiously, doing so with Southwest Airlines, Delta Airlines, and U.S. That is not a takeoff. It is going across the Ontario Town Square and over the Wells Fargo as well. This is the entity that's engaging in what is monitoring with the people of the state, including those inside of the John Stewart Company apartments. They're being federally prosecuted. Gang stalking the Ontario Senior Center. This is a crime scene, and it's going to be defunded. It's also the Ontario City Hall that's going to be defunded, and the corrupt government that's monitoring with the military using empty planes with no passengers, not headed to a destination, engaging in what is criminal monitoring by repetitiously stalking in the path by hovering over the Ontario Civic Center. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in concentrating flight over this because the military is remaining on the south side of my person, gang stalking with the people of the state. College of Laverne University of Law is being targeted, is engaging in what is targeting me, gang stalking as an institution, the Ontario Fire Department, and the Metro 102 Apartments, that is MIG Real Estate, Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, Sarah's Regis Group, Wells Fargo, the venues that are in relevant position, that includes the Ontario Town Square townhomes as well. All of this is incorporated in what I'm documenting with regard to relevant positioning. What I will analyze, meaning with regard to those that are directly engaged in the criminal act, are these establishments: the City Hall, the Senior Center, the John Stewart Apartment Complex, the OVITT Family Community Library. This is how the evidence is analyzed on the internet when you're looking at how the entity is gang stalking. In the video, when you're gang stalking with light in the path, like what the third party is doing at 218 C Street, that'll be a part of the analysis in any video evidence, in any podcast evidence. Pacing in and out of the Sarah's Regis Group, they're gang stalking with light. That'll become a part of the analysis with regard to the entity that's flying over the buildings and stalking with light. The entity's engaging in this together, just like when I'm documenting on video and they're stalking in the path with their brake lights inside of the parking garage for the law school, for the City Hall, the government that's monitoring together. This is the P.O.C. This is providing clarification regarding what you're looking at as the criminal activity, the terrorism is analyzed for purposes of prosecuting and you witnessing that and understanding how gang stalking operates as it's organized on social media, on the YouTube platform where this investigation is published. This is P.O.C. This is attributed to the venue where you are stalking in the path and doing so by at a traffic light where you don't have any protection under the law. You're being prosecuted for surveillance on the roads and the highways, just like I showed you as I'm prosecuting the gang stalking police departments that are stalking under the fake sun on the roads and the highways with the people of the state. This is the entity gang stalking at Sarah's Regis Group and Wells Fargo while they're stalking in the path with the traffic lights that the government is using to engage in surveillance and stalking as a population. It's 6:28 a.m. See? This is criminal summoning. And these are demons that reside right here. And this is the fake sun. So this is Vesta. I'm on Vesta in the middle of the afternoon. Rock of Faith is on the opposite side of the street right here. They're gang stalking, and he's gang stalking where he lives. So I'm going to document all of these demons that are going to be subject to very likely deportation and being prosecuted. The entity is stalking with sirens in the same way the entity is engaging in terror. This is impossible light. I want you to see what's moving across. This is impossible light. Okay, that's stalking. This is a wall. This is the entity that's engaging what is in the absence of shade, and you have what is light that's manifesting at a downward trajectory, also underneath the covered structure on the wall of the house where this demon is walking out, gang stalking me, going out of your way to walk out of your house to stalk somebody through the neighborhood. That is in furtherance, okay, the conspiracy to commit murder. That's the license stated. This is apparently number B. They're engaged in gang stalking serially, and I've also documented the entity stalking right over these houses. So they're going to get a video evidence targeting them. The entity's engaged in very heavily documented surveillance, right? You're talking about what is a federal prison. This is the entity. This is a cult member right here of the U.S. Marines gang stalking by place of residence and engaging in the pattern of conduct. While one demon from any of their household walks out engaging in that level of conspicuous surveillance, they're all gang stalking. And you know that because of engineered light that's on their house now. And after 4 p.m., the fake sun that's over me right here at Rock of Faith at 325 B Street. This is a gang stalking neighborhood. 322 B Street. This is the P.O.C. Alrighty, these are all their addresses where I'm documenting the pattern of conduct, and these are the third party. It's criminal summoning. You are not engaging in any private activity. You don't have any private speech rights. You're engaging in criminal surveillance by place of residence. This is public corruption. This is the P.O.C. Here's the fake sun. It is 6:57 a.m. That's Union Pacific. That is gang stalking. And this is the fake sun that's over me, and video evidence that you will connect. It's over me at 4 o'clock where the Ontario police are stalking. On the 4th of July, you saw the Ontario police public corruption that is financed by the City of Ontario, the 4th of July parade, where they were gang stalking under the fake sun that is over me here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, where the Ontario police are on video stalking on the roads and the highways. This is the P.O.C. and it's surveillance by the neighborhood. Coming out of your shack to engage in the pattern of conduct. You won't even have a shack to live in. And if you're an immigrant, you won't even be in the streets of the United States to gang stalk anyone. You're going back to where you came from. This is the P.O.C. This is corruption by the entity. All of them, they receive housing benefits. They're not getting any of it. They're not getting any housing benefits. They're being prosecuted while the entities engage in that pattern of conduct with the demons that are obsessed with me, stalking with fire trucks and ambulances. They're a waste of time and money and resources. All they're doing is stalking and going around in circles, sounding sirens. And they do the same thing with the planes that you've seen flying over and over and over again. Look at the video evidence documented on May 17, 2026, where United Airlines, Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines are engaging what is flight over and over and over right here at this street. This is the entity engaging in surveillance, and all of the resources of gang stalking is the evidence to suggest that the entire city of Ontario, by virtue of what is the threat that it poses to the rest of the state, demons that will conspire against any person to murder them, stalk them obsessively, and spend millions of dollars in doing it, is an entity, a population, a society that is to be cut off from the rest of that nation, that country. Okay, and it is entirely un-American, and it's mentally ill behavior. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:59 a.m. This is criminal summoning by all of these demons in these houses. They are engaged in targeting, and they're going to be prosecuted for it. They're going to be targeted by the feds. P.O.C. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. In the same way that you're analyzing the criminal system while the entities, this is just, they're literally doing the same thing over the Ontario City Hall parking lot. So you're stalking me going from, now you see the criminal case against the Ontario Village Shopping Center, where you are stalking under the fake sun, which follows where I am. And you know the fake sun is here, where Brink Security goes out of its way to gang stalk me after I refer to them in evidence that they are keeping under surveillance. Omnitrans is engaging in surveillance on the roads and the highways. That means a bus transit line is stalking with the government that just conducted a U-turn, where you are not engaging in any and the demons that are caught stalking engage in more psychopathic and incriminating conduct with another plane, which has nothing to do with the takeoff from the airport, over the Ontario Village Shopping Center, the Ontario Shopping Center that's being prosecuted. Stalking in the path is what this is. This is at the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library, stalking at the Sarah's Regis Group downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, pacing in and out of that parking garage. Doing so while you're driving in the parking lot. That's the University of Laverne College of Law parking garage. The people of the state stalking on the walkway in front of the OVITT Family Community Library where the fake sun is over me. This is the P.O.C. You're not headed to a destination. You don't have any passengers on the plane when you are hovering. That's Alaska. Alaska Airlines doesn't have any flights hovering over the John Stewart Company apartment. And miles west of that location where you have still not taken off and you're competing with my voice, under the fake sun that's still here 12 hours later, Alaska Airlines is engaging in what is stalking, the unheard of criminal offense by an airline company, which is the airline industry that is stalking an American citizen, is doing so pursuant to the pattern of conduct by a public entity, acting as a corporate entity. That's not a private company. That's engaging in what is terrorism with the people of the state. This is an entire shopping village that's engaging in surveillance, for which they will be federally prosecuted. This is criminal presence in the path. 8 Bob Uncle Edward 218. And everybody inside of Starbucks is well, that is true. Actually, Starbucks employees are going to prison, but everyone inside of Stater Brothers. Impossible Lights moving across the venue. This is stalking. These are demons. And you know that while UPS is a U-turn, just like they are over the City Hall, over the John Stewart apartment complex, over the Metro 102 apartments, and they're following with that entire crime scene in concert with the people of the state who are stalking in a parking lot. These are creatures that are going to be subject to martial law. They don't have anything to do, and all they're doing and all they are invested in is surveillance that is sexually perverted, coming to a venue to engage in surveillance in the bathrooms of that facilitating venue, which is where the employees of Stater Brothers are all going to federal prison. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity gang stalking at what is 7:10 a.m. You're going to juxtapose this with the video evidence prosecuting the venue, the corporate actor, with the video evidence of the fake sun here at 5 p.m. Where I'm documenting, and the entities molesting with impossible light, having the fake sun over me in the middle of the day, and the military is flying in circles over my head by helicopter, engaging in psychopathic pacing at nightfall under the fake moon. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:10 a.m. UPS that just engaged in a U-turn over the parking lot, now engaged in what is hovering over it, while the people of the state are engaged in surveillance in the parking lot. And while they are molesting with impossible light, which is what this demon is doing, stalking in the path, while they're engaging in what is activity creation with the shopping carts, they're doing so under the fake sun that is here while the population of demons go to Stater Brothers that is maintaining the fake sun all hours of the day, engaging in surveillance with the corporate actor, and doing so also while they are monitoring the evidence. And as they walk in, conduct any purchases, this is the federal RICO case against Stater Brothers. That's the corporate entity. This is the P.O.C. This is the picture of obsession, okay? The African-American female that's stalking in the dark is engaging in the same pattern of conduct, and this is the same entity that's engaging in that obsessive behavior as an entity. Impossible light while you're parking your car. This is the significance of the fake sun. While you get to a destination, you're engaging in stalking with the people. This is right in front of me with the engineer light underneath, while the entity is under the fake sun stalking, and the fake sun is here after 5 p.m. This is an unprecedented prosecution of corporate actors, including Stater Brothers, which is a threat to the American people. 7 TAP 384. The demons are employed here. The demons are coming here stalking by shopping, engaging in the pattern. That's a federal RICO case. This is the P.O.C. This is not the sun. And moreover, is it not only not the sun, sunlight isn't reaching underneath the covered structure while you move your vehicle, and you're stalking in the path in order to engage in that. That's a demon. Okay? That's a demon that's engaged in that. And these are the lesbians that are monitoring my vagina. Stater Brothers is a sex offender, and that's how it's going to be prosecuted, while UPS is, in other words, under the law. UPS is serving to prosecute Stater Brothers, and Stater Brothers is serving to prosecute UPS. And UPS represents the airline industry, and the entities engage in this as an entity. This is the prison, the cursed womb, the box-shaped demon, 8YNC992. This is the P.O.C. Yes, this is. Okay, David Quinones is going to prison. And while you're looking at 8YNC992 gang stalking, as I've shown you her stalking me in Upland, California, engaged in criminal summoning with the Upland police, stalking in that grocery store under the fake sun. She's engaged in stalking me on Holt Boulevard while the entity is, she's here at this same parking lot, which is video evidence you're going to see after 2 o'clock, and the entity is stalking with the Ontario Fire Department. And she's engaging in what is harassment, which is on the record, and that's why Salvador is going to prison. Remember everything that Salvador said while he's gang stalking me as an employee at the venue with the employees sharing in that pattern of conduct. Pay attention to that light activity. That's not sunlight, nor is that the sun. And the entities engaged in this. This is the significance of being a stalker under that environment. 8MBD317 is conspiring and murder, and these are stalkers that are in the parking lot maintaining surveillance, and these are creatures. They're not humans. These are creatures. Okay, so while Carlos is gang stalking at El Pollo Loco under the 4 p.m. fake sun, you're mindful of what you're looking at now, while UPS is just conspicuously exposing everybody. That conspicuous engagement in a criminal pattern of conduct that's designed to psychologically torture and furtherance of murder is the shutdown, the removal of existence from companies such as Stater Brothers, and the federal imprisonment of serial stalkers like license 8YNC992, okay, who engages in more conspicuous conduct when they first sought to engage in it, and then falsely depict your character doing so, meaning you're gang stalking me and you're going to call me crazy. No, you're going to be committed, and she is going to be committed. She's getting 8YNC992 is going to be committed. The evidence, I've got video after video of her severe obsession with me and the way in which she's engaged in, motivated by, inspired by more criminal conduct with her demonic, that is mentally ill co-defendants. 6U QW266, UPS, Alaska Airlines, the entity that is gang stalking with light activity around the perimeter, that is GPC. That's not engaging construction. They're merely demons stalking with light. That's GPC, graffiti, protective coatings. Maintaining light activity under a fake sun that's still here. This is an entity of the mentally ill that are a threat to the public, maintaining grocery stores where they're selling food to the public that they're keeping under surveillance, gang stalking and furtherance of murder. This acrobat conduct with planes over the parking lot, stalking in that manner, and then you're pacing in and out of a grocery store to stalk that one person as demons, engaging in that environment, monitoring unlawful searches on your communication devices, and they're all together keeping your genitalia under surveillance. This is a society of creatures that are going to be subject to martial law, and under martial law, they will not have venues such as Stater Brothers in order to maintain criminal surveillance and sexual violence, okay? 8YNC992 is gang stalking with the city of Upland and the city of Ontario. She is being committed. The employees of Stater Brothers are all going to federal prison. Okay, this is the P.O.C. This is the entity entity that's engaged in that, and you're recalling what Carlos is stating. And Carlos is gang stalking in the afternoon when this entity that is, upon being humiliated for being obsessed with me, engages in acts of violence and harassment, such as serial stalkers. And what is happening to Salvador while serial stalker 8YNC992 continuously is stalking at Stater Brothers? Because you don't have any right of protection, and you're not just minding your business. You're gang stalking, and every time I go to the store, now you're engaging in more because these are the psychological breakdown of demons that are being prosecuted and exposed. It's absurd with regard to what they are doing to themselves. You're going to prison, and everybody else is going to prison, while you focus on me as you're being embarrassed by being a gang stalker in the first place. This is, again, the commitment, the involuntary commitments of gang stalkers, and that's what's going to happen. This is the P.O.C. You're going from stalking in a grocery store to a mental institution. Okay, that's the P.O.C. He is engaging in this while they are together maintaining ongoing massive surveillance, planes that aren't going anywhere, demons that are engaging what is going into a grocery store, going into a parking lot, driving on a street to engage, and stalking in the sky space to engage in following one person around. And that one person is the one that is prosecuting all of them. And you need to know that these aren't humans, they're creatures. These are demons, and they're engaging in terrorism worldwide. And in California, they're being subject to martial law, and they're being committed. BL28S29, and everybody in the store is prosecuted, okay? Serial stalkers are going to federal prison. These are the demons that are engaging in that. Serially coming and monitoring vagina. That's what you're looking at. That's gross, with gray colored boogers on the face. That's what that looks like. Gang stalking with knowledge that you're being documented. So the more that a terrorist is documented, the more that they come and engage in that pattern of conduct. This fat demon right here, a gross sex offender, engage in what is vagina monitoring upon being documented. And this is criminal conduct that they all share in, but the demons are targeted with the evidence that as they commit that criminal act, 7KDA 701. This is P.O.C. The purchases inside of the store is evidence of the criminal activity. All right, this is the pattern of conduct. It is currently 7:19 a.m. This is the entity following stalking as when I'm going from place to place, and that includes with the environment. And that's the purpose of everybody that's here, making a purchase at 7 in the morning and making a purchase at 4 o'clock in the afternoon under the same circumstances is the criminal pattern of conduct by demons. P.O.C. Alrighty, the surveillance cameras is also supplemental evidence. It's going to be used to prosecute the corporate actor, the sex offender Stater Brothers, and all of its employees, regardless of schedule, regardless of location, with regard to every video, any video that I capture, they're all going to prison. The entire workforce. This is the P.O.C. And they're also going to prison for poisoning. This is impunity. She's monitoring in plain view. They're all going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:20 a.m. Alrighty, this is an entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct with impunity, like turning around and catching your phone. Like that's supposed to mean something. It's evidence that you're stalking in the path, including your work schedule. The fake sun is over while you're observing that, and that's speaking to knowledge about what it is that I'm doing on my phone. And they know because they're gang stalking. Okay, not because I'm outside in the parking lot, but it's not based on none of that. They're engaging in surveillance. I'm documenting it. You knew from day one who I am and what I'm doing, and you've engaged in what is acts of harassment and ongoing stalking while it's been documented, and it is going to be documented because you're getting committed. This is the P.O.C. It is 7:20 a.m. That's an employee that is harassing while stalking with the customers. The unheard of criminal conduct of demons that are not humans engaging in surveillance. And this is the failed conspiracy to commit murder by Stater Brothers. It's a co-conspirator of murder. And that is literally proven through a fake sun that's over the grocery store from morning until evening, leaving out the state of Florida. How are you under the sun when Stater Brothers that I'm prosecuting in Ontario at 646 West Holt is remaining under it? And that's a prosecution literally by science. All right, so that's the entity that's engaging in that, and that's a demon. Oh, I'm going to turn you on my phone. Everything that you're doing on your phone is evidence that you're stalking. It's the P.O.C. And not only are they going to be committed, they need to be committed. That's the pattern of conduct. It is currently 7:21 a.m. This is the federal prosecution of Stater Brothers that is headquartered in San Bernardino, California. And David Quinones is referred to as a terrorist leader, a manager under whose corrupt leadership everybody is gang stalking in the aisles and maintaining surveillance. And I am on surveillance camera. This is P.O.C. Just all the stalkers that come in, and now they're monitoring and stalking an engineer light inside of the grocery store building, which is mentally ill behavior and corrupt practices of a business that's going to be shut down based on that engagement and that pattern of conduct, incorporating the business of that venue to do so. It is 7:22 a.m. You hear the high-pitched beeping? The entity is monitoring. This is inside of the Stater Brothers. The high-pitched beeping is audible activity in the engineer light, while a whole bunch of what are demons, they're pacing. This is mentally ill conduct of a company maintaining that nuisance in the store, which is not relevant to what is business practices that you're interested in a successful business or customers being welcomed into that space. It's because you are monitoring while you're maintaining the high-pitched beeping, maintaining the store alarm, engaging in what is the ongoing harassment of customers with the planes hovering over the parking lot. This is the entity that's engaging in all manner of that terrorizing environment because they're monitoring. And they're also monitoring vagina. So I want you to hear that high-pitched beeping. They are pacing out of register number, excuse me, thank you, number 1. Quick question, is the restroom available?
It should be, yes.
Thank you. Okay, that is Jaden. That's gang stalking at register number 1. A demon is in the storage place with regard to crossing path in the hallway. And it's currently, excuse me, do you know the code for the bathroom? He's stalking in the path while the entity's maintaining the engineered light and the high-pitched beeping. Oh, it's open. Never mind. Thank you. They didn't lock it. Okay, it's criminal presence in the path. All right, this is a presence in the path. This is stalking in a grocery store. Stalking in the bathroom to make sure surveillance is underway. And that's literally the entity that is gang stalking outside, stalking with light, engaging in harassment, the serial stalker coming to the venue. And as you are walking through the store, just like outside while they're stalking with methods of light activity, stalking with plane and helicopter, they are stalking in a venue inside of a building. As you go upstairs, as you go downstairs, as you go into any room, as you go into a room such as the bathroom, they are stalking, following you around, monitoring, okay? Not just following from place to place, following, because the grocery store is a place, it's a location. They're not just following me to the grocery store, which is stalking. They are stalking as I move around inside of the grocery store, use my device as I'm moving around inside of the grocery store, use my device as I don't move, and any location inside of the grocery store. These are monitoring spirits. They're mentally ill, they're violent sex offenders, and they are obsessed with engaging in that. And as they are exposed by virtue of documentation, which is evidence of your obsession, literally established by presence. Because you're exposed. You did not think that anyone ever was going to know that engineer light is at your workplace, where your obsession is thereby disguised as, I'm just working here and I don't know you, I'm not stalking you. Lie. The entity's engaging what is obsession and monitoring as a society. Engineer light, the fake sun, the stalking by the military and the law enforcement agencies is occurring everywhere for a population of the mentally ill who are obsessively monitoring a single person together 24 hours a day, including in that grocery store, in the bathroom of that grocery store, where you are obsessively stalking in the path. Not stalking the alcohol in that adjacent closet. And that is proven literally through tangible evidence. The engineer light is in this hallway. The entity stalking as I'm walking outside of the grocery store in alignment to the entrance doors. The vagina monitor, the cursed womb herself, even following me to Upland, California to stalk me inside of the Vons, where the Upland police are stalking in the path, asking me questions about that which they don't have any authority under the law, such as taking a picture of a license plate where there is no vested interest of privacy whatsoever. Nor does that exist, period, when you're gang stalking. So even if it was an offense, the Upland police, no police department has any interest. You're gang stalking. You're delusional, thinking that you're getting away with. They're delusional. They're corrupt, and they're creatures that do not understand the actual law. So they are learning through being prosecuted and committed, and the rest of the world is going to learn as well. This is the entity that is gang stalking by virtue of presence outside of the bathroom. This is an entity, Stater Brothers is being prosecuted as a sex offender. It is the proof of sexual violence. Going into the restroom, which they construct the building for purposes of genitalia surveillance, it is being prosecuted while the fake sun is over the building and you are outside of the bathroom. You're in the hallway outside of the bathroom. You're across from the bathroom. You're in the parking lot on the opposite side of that bathroom. You're being prosecuted as a sex offender, including when the sex offenders want to come and be right next to me while my vagina is exposed in the bathroom, doing so as employees, doing so as third-party stalkers that come to the store and make a purchase to keep me and my vagina under surveillance. Stater Brothers is being federally prosecuted, and it will not exist when I'm done exhausting it. In other words, this is the P.O.C. and the entity that is, again, both intimidated, infuriated, humiliated is the one that engages in doing cartwheels over the parking lot and hovering over like UPS is doing and Alaska Airlines is doing. And that's the self-destructive suicidal behavior. And everybody inside of the store, such as being in the hallway outside of the bathroom, is engaging in the pattern of conduct. And that includes vagina monitoring Jaden and the gang stalkers at aisle number 1 for purposes of stalking me and monitoring my genitalia while they are also making purchases and making money being paid by the sex offender Stater brothers. This is P.O.C. at 7:28 a.m. Yeah, that's audible activity of a demon stalking. All right, using the dryer and the wall. This is the demon that is, again, combining the door and the dryer are not connected. So for the door to be closing, like you just heard right now, while the dryer is going, you either have somebody that's walking in while you're using the dryer, you have someone holding the door open for you while you use the dryer for 2 seconds, but for the door to close while the dryer is going, the two are not connected. The dryer is not on the door of the exit of the bathroom. These are demons that are stalking with noise and engineered light, monitoring what I'm doing on my device, and aware that they're being recorded. It doesn't matter if I don't even record the hand dryer. They're going to prison for stalking outside of the bathroom, which is proven by me taking a picture of you being present. All right, there is no way for you to be actually removed from the evidence of vagina monitoring by virtue of the building and the presence of a bathroom and any sort of presence, being in the parking lot, being across the street at Golden Bear Inn. This is the entity I document while they're in the path, engaging in what is ridiculously hovering stalking conduct. Surveillance is underway by the entity that's in the sky space using satellites and monitoring what it is that I'm documenting. Okay, I'm documenting the cockroaches that are pacing all around in the engineer light on the inside of the store. But surveillance of genitalia is occurring outside of the walls of the store. They're engaging in what is the activity to maintain that ongoing unlawful search of devices and monitoring your genitalia, which is shared information, demonic activity amongst a bunch of demons. But what you heard was the dryer and the door. 2 separate things. So you're either holding the door open and using the dryer. This is the demons that are stalking with noise and knowing that you're being recorded at the same time. Stalkers, P.O.C. That's noise monitoring my device. I just took a picture. Alrighty, so the high-pitched beeping that I documented on the inside of the store is relevant to stalkers that are in line aisle number 1. The employee is gang stalking, the customers are gang stalking. Those are the people of the state gang stalking with the government, stalking by Alaska Airlines UPS planes over the parking lot. This is the P.O.C. And this is capturing the P.O.C. underway with regard to monitoring genitalia, which third-party box-shaped cursed womb, license 8YNC992, comes out of her way, which is relevant to having her committed first amongst the rest of the demons that are also going to be facing commitment. But she is heavily documented with regard to what is being rewarded with what is involuntarily remaining as a patient in a medical facility of a federal level, federal prison with regard to being committed while she's engaging in serial stalking as a documented terrorist who is very psychotic. If you see her on video, well, when you see her on video stalking outside of the United States Postal Service in Ontario last Wednesday, this demon is being documented. She's stalking me in the path with the Ontario police under the fake sun. And as I'm capturing this phenomenon, showing her very distinct evidence of her stalking me as someone that's not just a gang stalker, but a gang stalker that's following me around everywhere. And it's also very clear under that fake sun. Remember, she's on HOLT Boulevard, the same old boulevard, after 2 o'clock in the parking lot, the back of the parking lot where the fire department and the same military are using commercial planes. But nonetheless,
This psycho is also visible. You're witnessing it while she's in her car. Windows are up. I'm not yelling at the top of my lungs. I'm using my phone. But yet, while she's behind me, and I capture her stalking on the roads and the highways, doing so at 123 West Holt Boulevard, the United States Postal Service, while she's caught, she starts shaking her head no, like she's denying something, like somebody's accusing her, something like she knows what I'm talking about, and she's already denying it, like no. She's psychotic. Very psychotic. And she's obsessed with my vagina. Okay, and so the reality is that obsession is shown through reporting to the same crime scene, to repeat engaging in stalking over and over again. While you'll see in the car, she's shaking her. It's very deranged what Satan is using through this old, fat, box-shaped white woman who is obsessively stalking me, and she is the entity. Okay, so her stalking me, which I have evidence of, is evidence of her gang stalking as an entity. So in the same way, any one person is used to prosecute the government, and the government is used to prosecute that person, and that person is acting as an entity. I don't need 14 people. I can prosecute the government with one person because the pattern of conduct is already established. But nonetheless, this is the entity that's engaging in that, and she's very much deranged. And she's engaging in what is shaking her head as though she's denying something vigorously while her windows are up, and I'm not talking to her, but I'm documenting her, and she's in operation of her device under the fake sun at HOLT and Euclid, engaging in the P.O.C. while the demons are stalking by plane over the post office where I'm at, and she's already engaging in what is denying while she's engaging in it. That's the same conduct as engaging in what is harassing me while you're engaging in the gang stalking system, contorting your face as though you're excuse me, I dropped the phone. Contorting your face while you're at 12 o'clock in the morning, by the way, engaging in the gang stalking conduct at the same time. This is that psycho that's on video, and you can see it. You can see the evidence of that, which is not closeted anymore. So no one is under any sort of illusion where you're looking at people that on the surface look like, well, it just looks like everybody's just in traffic and minding their, everybody's beyond that, and you can see what's going on now. And I'm also giving you ability to actually even further analyze it while you look at their behavior, while they're engaging in what is a matter of public corruption. That's not a secret to anyone. There's no illusion there. You're all aware of what they're doing and how they do it, and look at their behavior, their mentally ill, deranged ways and patterns when they are humiliated by their criminal pattern of conduct. And it includes stalking me on the street in traffic in the middle of a video, a very damning video, and you then begin like you're listening to something, and maybe you're just listening to a radio and the song includes shaking your head vigorously, no, like maybe that's a song, but it appears as though this is somebody that is caught, humiliated, gang stalking again, and is already denying that which nobody is accusing you of, because you're driving on the street and I'm walking on the sidewalk, and I am documenting that though. But this is an entity that's very much aware that they're being documented and also knows what has already been proven, and the demons in them, their mental illness, is engaging in what is seeking to outwardly deny that which is undeniable. And that's the one that's 8YNC 992. She's going to be committed. I just want to, because that's on video, and I discussed it the day that I captured. That was Wednesday. Today is Sunday. So the entity is maintaining that pattern of conduct. And then you remember the next day I went to Upland and there was no sun over in Ontario over the post office. Okay, that's the entity that's gang stalking, going out of her way to stalk me in Upland, California. She's going to prison, and so are all the employees at the Stater Brothers in Ontario. This is the P.O.C. at 7:36 a.m., where the entity is engaging in what is stalking through the adjacent bathroom. Okay, stalking with noise is psychopathic, mentally deranged behavior. Engaging in that conduct while you are being documented is what is going to have you locked in a facility where mentally ill people that are engaging in surveillancing those which you should not be. You're engaging in that based on what is your mental illness. That is not a secret anymore, and it is a national security threat. While you make up a population of mentally ill people who are engaging in this invested system of surveillance with the government that's flipping and flying over where you live. So the entities engaging in that conduct together, and you need to understand that these aren't humans. These are the demons that have been around us, keeping us under surveillance, your children under surveillance, your children's genitalia under surveillance, removing your children's privacy, which you have a right to and a vested interest in, and this has been deprived by literally the government that is enabling and sharing in sexual violence, which is also criminal. This is P.O.C. It is 7:37 a.m. at what is the sex offending venue, Stater Brothers, that maintains surveillance in the bathroom, so they're not going to be around to buy orange juice from anymore. I'm going to exhaust them. This is a basis of damages that is not contemplated under federal law, and then Stater Brothers, which is headquartered in California, is going to cease to exist. They're from California. It's going to die, just like the entity that's gang stalking using death spells. You're talking about physical death. You're also talking about physical death of the companies that are existing for criminal purposes, like Stater Brothers. This company is going to die. You're witnessing the process of its death while I'm prosecuting it in a bathroom where they're engaging in surveillance. The company is dead. This is P.O.C. at 7:37 a.m. That's an attempted break into the bathroom while the entity is stalking with the military at 7:41 a.m. Stater Brothers is being prosecuted. They're all on surveillance cameras. It's 7:41 a.m. in the room, the restroom in the hallway filled with engineer light. And this is the entity that's monitoring on my device. Those are the creatures that are engaging in stalking, and those are the stalking efforts of the demons that are engaging in bathroom monitoring. And this is, again, why every single last employee, no matter their shift, no matter their position, they're all going to prison. It's 7:42 a.m. This is psychopathic pacing and activity creation in the engineer light. This is plane after plane after plane after plane, which is exceeding stalking. It's monitoring, and it's in the engineer light. Okay, and demons that are engaging in stalking are engaging what is amplified audible activity. The entities engaging what is monitoring on my device relevant to what is also monitoring genitalia in that bathroom where you're engaging in surveillance. And surveillance is including the method of breaking into the bathroom and feigning ignorance. You're doing so because you're stalking the person inside of that bathroom. That is an absurdly perverted and psychopathic method of what is stalking in the first place by the government that is monitoring what plane after plane after plane after plane, including over the parking lot, where you are engaging in a pattern of conduct. This includes 8YNC 992. She's being committed, and the employees of Stater Brothers and their business records will report every single last person in the aisles, at the register, in the store. They're all on camera, and they're going to be reporting themselves. This entity is going to be prosecuted. They're in the same way that they're engaging in surveillance. It's the same evidence of surveillance that's going to be used to prosecute them in court. Their faces, their identities, all of that. This is the entity of creatures, however, and they're more obsessed with my vagina and evidence that's going on the internet in the first place while you're engaging in that. And that's also while they're mentally ill. That's evidence of mental illness. You don't think about the consequences while you're engaging in it, and you've been told about the consequences and you're still engaging in it in the face of that very obvious evidence that you're guilty because the government's stalking outside in the sky space under a fake sun. These are creatures. They're not humans. P.O.C. It's 7:44 a.m. and Stater Brothers Wi-Fi is the network that they're monitoring my device on and the internet activity. They are keeping the evidence that's being documented, uploading while they're breaking into the bathroom, knocking on the door, entering the code when it shows that it's locked. So entering the code again 2 seconds later where it's not going to change that it's locked. And while you already know that I'm in here. And you know, those of you who are listening to this, you know that they know because it's engineer light in the hallway. They're entering the code in the bathroom. With regard to engineer light that's in that hallway, you're a stalker and you're a vagina monitor. So you are engaging what is breaking into the bathroom is the basis to have you locked up. You're psychotic. P.O.C. It's 7:45 a.m. And this is the demise of Stater Brothers. Stater Brothers is a dead company. Okay, The entity, it is currently 7:58 a.m., so I want to document this. The entity is engaged in what is federal stalking and destruction of evidence for which they're already going to prison. So I'm going to capture this again. The entity that's stalking in the women's restroom is engaging in what is indeed federal stalking on devices. It's an unlawful search committed by the government, not private citizens. Okay? So this is the entity that's engaging in the P.O.C. and the operation of the faucet in the bathroom. Just want to hear that. As you can hear, as I press down, as I even press down on it, you don't hear anything. It's nothing that you're going to perceive in the wall of the women's restroom on the opposite side. As it turns on and off, it's not going to cause any booming, no noise no noise creation whatsoever. You also can't hear the water through the walls. This is everything that demons are amplifying in volume with regard to monitoring. So not only am I pointing out how you're not going to hear that, the existence of that noise while demons are in the adjacent bathroom, stalking in the path, monitoring your genitalia is what you're doing when you're doing that in a bathroom. And they're doing so pursuant to noise that's not going to create any sort of impact in any way. The existence of ongoing noise pursuant to the operation of the toilet is that which is the entity's creation of audible activity. And what the entity is engaging in while the toilet starts and stops, it's not creating any plumbing issues. That's maintaining a nuisance in the store, for example. When you're maintaining, it's very common sense what the entity is doing when you're maintaining a business, which would be harassing and disconcerting to customers. And you're not having a toilet that's causing some sort of loud booming and bang like what Stater Brothers is maintaining in the grocery store, which I've documented over the years. The entity engaging in what is this audible noise while hostile demons who are stalking engage in more of that activity creation. And while they do so, this is the evidence that I just captured. And it's okay because UPS and Alaska Airlines flying over the parking lot is equally putting them all in prison and in the mental ward. But the entity is engaging in what is, as I record it, the recording is disappearing off the phone. That's pursuant to monitoring. It's not a malfunction on my device. Stater Brothers Wi-Fi is where they're engaging in criminal activity, and they are engaging in it while they're in line at register number 1, pacing in and out on surveillance cameras in and out of the store in the engineer light while the military is stalking plane after plane over the parking lot and vehicle after vehicle along San Antonio, Holt Boulevard, where they're all pacing. And that's just the village. The entire village is being prosecuted. They're gang stalking at the Golden Inn, at the Tom's Burgers, at the Stater Brothers, at the Starbucks, at the housing community around in relevant position, which I've also documented. The entity stalking by planes while I'm walking on the street on Bonita, on San Antonio, on what is Vesta, Ontario Plaza. The entity is surrounded with evidence of gang stalking me and monitoring my vagina in this bathroom. The entity is engaging in what is activity creation, which is not explained away by the operation of the sink or the toilet. Under all circumstances, even your voice is audible activity. You're being prosecuted, but I want you to understand these are demons, and it's demonic amplification of noise that is not occurring naturally under any circumstances. And I'm going to prosecute the business for terrorism while demons are engaging in stalking me. This is the P.O.C. They're also engaging in what is destroying the recording that was captured. It's currently 8:01 a.m., and that's pursuant to the high-pitched beeping that you hear as I enter the venue, the impossible light activity, and the fake sun over the venue, and that's a prosecution for evidence that the entity just destroyed right now. You're going to prison for conspiring murder and then trying to destroy evidence pertaining to that conspiracy. It's 8:01 a.m. This is P.O.C. It is 8:07 a.m. and the surveillance cameras at the venue will show another demon stalking in the path. Entering the the code into the pad of this restroom is activity creation while you're stalking in the path and engineer light, and you're a psycho monitoring with the engineer light that you're standing in as you do that. And Stater Brothers is being prosecuted for everything that they are doing while they're making purchases at the same time. Their purchase making is activity creation. It is literally a federal RICO case. P.O.C. This is 8:08, another sex offender coming to the bathroom to engage in monitoring by putting in the keypad. With regard to what is a threat, remember the targeted individual, the ordinary targeted individual is terrorized by this. They're trying to break into the bathroom, they're harassing you, and remember, I'm documenting it. This is maniacal conduct. It's even more escalated when they're not being documented, when they are convinced nobody knows. These are creatures that commit murder and are violent sex offenders and become more and more violent as you engage in or experience the fear that they intend and try to enforce your rights against it. I'm prosecuting it. If you think that you're going to rise up and defy the federal government, you're getting locked up, you're getting committed. But this is showing showing you how they are toward the ordinary target individual, it's even worse. This is the P.O.C. It's 8:09 a.m. I just want you to, in your mind, envision the old black woman that you saw this morning in the dark stalking me. That's the obsession that they are all sharing. I'm just at a different venue and it's the same entity. They are all equally obsessed. They're at the Stater Brothers monitoring and concentrating that obsession on me while I'm in the bathroom. They're not different, it's the pattern of conduct, they're all demons. They are triggered when they're exposed. That's all. Satan is triggered when he's exposed. And as a result, what is triggered is the demise of yet another corporation. It's the death, the sacrifice of that company that you utilize to engage in surveillance. And companies around the globe will learn that you should not engage in targeting with the government, because that government will engage in what is removing your company from existence altogether. And you'll end up in prison with no business whatsoever and in debt. P.O.C. It's currently 8:11 a.m. This is P.O.C. Yes?
Are you in the bathroom? I'm just asking a simple question. I'm just asking to go to the bathroom.
Oh, you were knocking on the door?
The lady next door. I asked her if she knew the code to get into the bathroom.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll be out right now. Okay. All right, in operation of the communication device, asking if you're coming into the restroom. He's studying his device in the hallway, gang stalking. This is the P.O.C. I already took a picture of my multiple shadows of my hand. This is the environment where the entity is maintaining activity, like I documented, amplification of what is not going to sound in any manner, especially not in the manner that is occurring in here while I'm subject to terrorism in the bathroom area, which is amplified booming and banging noises, which the entity is engaging in while stalkers are going into the women's restroom. And they're also engaging what I've already told you is federal stalking, surveillance via devices and on devices, while the evidence that I captured was also destroyed, meaning the recording did not save on my phone. That's pursuant to monitoring me, and you're going to prison for that. They're already going to prison in the first place. I'm going to document this. This is gang stalking. As I open the door, he's studying, they're monitoring. I just want to document this. It's 8:20 a.m. This is P.O.C. Waiting for the bathroom is a method of stalking in the path. Waiting at the traffic light is a method of stalking in the path. The entity is engaging in surveillance. There is no legitimate or appropriate means of engaging that. What you'll see right now is 3 hands appearing on the wall while I'm holding it up in the bathroom, which is impossible light activity in this bathroom space where I'm subject to surveillance, and you are gang stalking by knocking on the door, entering in the keypad, monitoring, already knowing that I'm there, which is harassment by a sex offender that is obsessively pursuing me, and keeping my genitalia under surveillance while making money with the sex offenders in line making purchases. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:21 a.m. pursuant to bathroom monitoring. This is the perpetual sex offense committed by an entity that is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. All right, it is referred to as vagina monitoring, P.O.C. Alrighty, this is where the entity is pacing in and out of the entrance doors, the high pitch. This is what the entity is also doing with the store alarm. The other method is having the store alarm going off incessantly. And this is while the entity, the military, is stalking by flying plane after plane, just like they are at the Ontario Civic Center. Okay, this is a prosecution for harassment. I'm going to prosecute the entity, and the demons are going to prison for harassment by the maintenance of audible activity, which is also a nuisance. While you are at that, conducting a business, no business is engaging in what is annoying their customers like this, but their customers are gang stalking. License SN417 is gang stalking in the path, P.O.C. And this has been evidence pursuant to the sex offense committed by Stater Brothers. Stater Brothers is a sex offender, so I would warn you about the surveillance that I'm documenting now. And Stater Brothers is also not going to exist when I am done prosecuting them, which is horrible advertisement for the corporation itself. But it is a matter of justice that Stater Brothers ceases to exist for conspiring my murder and being invested in it for so many years. Stater Brothers will cease to exist when I'm done prosecuting them civilly and criminally. It is 8:23 a.m. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, it is currently 8:36 a.m. And the entity is engaged in monitoring evidence. This is what is very unfortunate, but it's good because bad people need to be put away where bad people belong. But it's just so unfortunate to be so crazy and then engage in criminal activity like 8YNC stalking in the parking lot. This and monitoring my vagina. She is a cursed womb. Okay, the dead give birth to the dead. And this is also the death of a company. And Frank is monitoring with Union Pacific. He wants to walk by a demon in the engineer light that apply what is symbolism. Stater Brothers does not have enough damages to survive the prosecution for terrorism. Apparently, gang stalking in the environment and carrying stacks of money, which is dangerous and unprofessional. But this is what Frank is doing while gang stalking and listening to evidence where there is no place for pride. But you have what is an arrogant demon that's going to prison. Frank doesn't have any money to pay anybody. He's going to prison. But the entity is engaging in what is gang stalking in this manner when they're listening to what is the death of Stater Brothers. When you are being prosecuted as a sex offender, as a corporate entity, that is the death of your company. You cannot afford the damages for domestic terrorism. Despite what these gang stalkers from San Bernardino seem to think, Stater Brothers will not exist when I'm done prosecuting them. And the employees are all going to prison. They're not even going to be collecting paychecks. So but this is what the entity is engaged in. I'm just documenting it. And I'm translating what is mentally ill behavior by a suicidal population that have murdered its own company. And this is symbolic regarding what is the population of dead people who are going to be isolated and separated from the rest of the country with regard to the threat that they've shown themselves, proven themselves to be. Even the very corporations, the businesses that they operate are a threat to the public. Okay, so the entities engage in this, and this is on video. If I am documenting via podcast, and I'm capturing the entity that is stalking on video, gang stalking 8YNC992. This is but this psychopath is not different from the rest of them. They're all psychopaths. This is a psychopath carrying stacks of money inside of the Stater Brothers. While you think I care about that, I'm not taking all your money because I need it. You're the one that stole from me. and then gang stalk me to have me outside to make yourself to the rest of the public, who are a bunch of predators as well, watching you sacrifice other people, make yourself feel better by calling someone that you've stolen from, for example, homeless, when you are actually going to occupy that position that you have earned in life. You're going to be in prison. You are going to be diagnosed with a medical record as mentally ill, a terrorist, and you're also going to be impoverished. This is the entity that's engaged in that. And companies like Stater Brothers, it is a matter of justice that you witness that process. And there is no amount of stacks of money that's going to keep a corrupt company like Stater Brothers open to the public. This is the entity that's going to, its prosecution is going to exceed what it is that you could think that you can pay your way out of. You can't pay your way out of being an enemy of the United States. Despite what these demons in position have done, betraying this country. Because that's what these treasonous that are being prosecuted, oh, they've done that. They've already done it. You don't have any privacy. Your privacy is amongst what are those that are outside of the United States that are keeping you under surveillance. They know what you're looking at on the internet. They know your social security number. They know where you went grocery shopping last Tuesday night. They know who you're having sex with, and they're keeping your devices under surveillance. Your IP number, your children, the school that they go to, the time that the school bus picks them up. All of your information is public amongst those that are even outside of the United States, while a fake sun is kept over you wherever you are in this country, and the United States is engaging in what is a massive act of witchcraft, monitoring the country and gang stalking me while I'm exposing that system. The United States is keeping us under surveillance with those that are outside of the United States. And that's the level of criminal conduct that no gang stalking company like Stater Brothers, carrying a couple stacks of money, which doesn't, you're a vagina monitor. And I will literally incinerate that company and take all of that money that doesn't belong to you. And you will cease to exist as a corporation. This is not a competition. You do not get a rebuttal. These are terrorists, and they're being put in their place, and their places in mental facilities. Their places in federal prisons. License plate 01585 Zebra 3. Gang stalking, and doing so while they are engaging in that pattern of conduct together with, again, 8YNC 992, that cockroach that's engaging what is pouncing all about stalking and trying to flee the scene and stalking on Holt Boulevard. She's embarrassed about that, so that's why she's hanging out longer, well after she completed her purchases, which will be on the surveillance cameras inside of the venue, because she's humiliated by her mentally ill criminal activity with the government that's equally obsessed. She's not engaging in that which is peculiar to her. She's engaging in a pattern of conduct. They're all obsessed. Okay, you're talking about the demons that work here that did not expect to be proven to be obsessed and stalking because they work there, but they work at a facilitating venue where surveillance is underway by the government, where you are not a private company. You're not engaging in any private speech. You're not even engaging in what you have a right to do. It's not private property. So all the times that Stater Brothers is engaged in criminal summoning, that's also why they're going to prison. They have a long list of federal offenses which you cannot pay your way out of, and you cannot compensate for the damages that you have inflicted for a term of years. And this is what's relevant behind what's so pathetic. The one that you worship is the one that you're failing and impressing by gang stalking me and monitoring my vagina and crossing paths with stacks of ones in your hand inside of that store where you're monitoring. You're going to prison. You're not taking any of that money with you in the first place. But that's what Frank is doing. Frank is on video gang stalking me in his vehicle with his license plate. He's going to prison with the rest of them as well. This is P.O.C. It's 8:43 a.m. This is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct in Union Pacific. Understand, the amplified train activity, it's just like gang stalking me with amplified plane activity while I'm being molested with flashing light at the doorway while a bunch of demons that are engaging in surveillance in a bathroom, for example, are psychos pacing around in a parking lot, like license 5 Edward Wendy George 555. Crossing path in a raggedy, dusty Ford Explorer. This is a Latino male, and this is speaking to the way in which you're going to clean up the streets in the state of California. That will be subject to martial law, but you're going to also engage in what is splicing through this population, deporting all of them that are not natural born citizens are getting deported. That's how you're going to lessen the population of terrorists. You're talking about what is federal prison and mass incarceration regarding mental facilities. That's also how you're going to lessen the population. And it is safer for them to be in mental facilities than for them to be free, engaging in even monitoring, which is violence that they commit against each other while they're engaging in that pattern of conduct. License 23103 Uncle One, the Black Titan. This is the Latino male gang stalking serially at the Ontario Town Square. He's going to prison. He's stalking in the parking lot. I'm gonna go ahead and capture screen image. And this is all violence by Ontario Village Shopping Centre. While serial stalkers are provided a forum to engage in state surveillance with the government, Ontario Village is going to compensate me for that, and so is Stater Brothers. Two specific defendants that are going to compensate me, and this entire shopping plaza will be a desk site, okay? It's going to be a pile of dirt. Nobody's going to be shopping here or working here. This is the P.O.C. It's currently, by the way, 8:44 a.m. And this has been another episode of the mentally ill engaging in what is their rapidly declining mind state and psychological statuses as they're engaging in what is criminal activity, which is already proven to be very real, and that which is showing how they are mentally ill, how they are corrupt, and how they are in need of a prosecution as terrorists, martial law, and involuntary commitments of that population that's going to be targeted by all areas of state and federal law in order to neutralize the threat that they pose to society. This is the state of California at Ontario Village Shopping Center, which is a defendant in a very real case regarding what is impunity, which is also a status, damages that you cannot afford. You cannot pay your way out of what is terrorism. This is the P.O.C. That's Union Pacific. That's engaging in gang stalking with the demon at the entrance of the Ontario Village Shopping Center. License 7 Paul Victor Charlie 850. Surveillance by the entity. Okay, that's the P.O.C. And that's a population that doesn't have a job, doesn't have anything to do, doesn't have anything that they are actually engaging in other than surveillance in furtherance of murdering somebody. And that's the entity that's engaging in that with impunity. License 9TOR172, stalking, and doing so on Bonita, everybody in the housing community. Okay, that's the entity that's stalking, by the way, with amplified train activity under what is a fake sun. Bring security is stalking here after 5 p.m. These are demons that don't have a life. They don't have anything other to do. They're engaging in stalking as a society. That society is being locked down for the protection of everyone. P.O.C. Union Pacific is not going to be on the train tracks. You're talking about what is murder committed by those that are operating trains, those that are operating public transportation, in other words, those that are operating the planes and the helicopters that I am being gang stalked by. This is where the entities falsely depicting what's happening when these same demons engaging in monitoring us are committing mass acts of violence. That's called terrorism, and it is not an accident. And you're talking about what has been the inability to accurately assess what has been going on when the federal government conducts an investigation and they are incapable of competently investigating what happened and appropriately classifying it as an act of terrorism because it's pursuant to monitoring. That is an act of terrorism. They don't have accidents. They engage in what are massive acts of tragic events causing a lot of death at one time, which is what the wicked want. Even themselves, they're demons. This is why they're all monitoring and gang stalking me together. These are people that will all kill themselves at one time in order to affect the person that they're obsessed with. That's literally, they're all engaged. They are satisfied. This is death and destruction. This is the spirit that is possessing them, gang stalking. What is possessing someone to want to get into a plane with no passengers is serving no purpose. All the money, time, and resources and get just to follow me around the city. And they do that with 13, 14, 50 planes as I go from the library to the Stater Brothers, back to the Upland Public Library. You're getting in helicopters. Do you understand? These are people that don't have these are people that are mentally ill. They're not humans. They have a whole means of existing and operating a system. And they're engaging in surveillance by it as well. This is breaking down the whole infrastructure of that. You're not getting any welfare support. That government's not supporting anybody, and that government is being stripped of its position. And the dangerous and malicious representation that it has any authority under the law, it doesn't. And that's what's happening with California, okay? This is the P.O.C. This is the inability to pay your way out of a prosecution as a terrorist. That's absurd. Absurd. License 94399 Henry 3. This is P.O.C. And when you have nothing else to do, when your job is to stalk somebody else, that's what you're doing? Okay, you're not engaging in anything outside of the borders. You will be subject to what is being locked down and confined, where you will be subject to what is, as a society of those that are not engaging in anything other than that, you're going to be subject to what is an ongoing lockdown, where you're not able and you're not free to, and it's for the protection of other people, for a society of murderers and stalkers. These are the demons that are gang stalking, and that's what's happening at a grocery store. All right. And the entities engaging in that, there is no, and that's a matter of law, and that's a matter of common sense. But these are not creatures. They don't have any sense of decency. You cannot pay your way Contrary, because you pay for everything else. You pay people to like you. You pay people to have sex with you. You pay people to befriend you. You pay people to gang stalk with you. You pay people to not tell on you. You cannot pay your way out of terrorism. You certainly can't pay me to not prosecute you. You can't gang stalk me out of prosecuting you, and you can't pay anything or anyone out of, you cannot pay your way out of it. There will be no civil case and the removal of a criminal case. Companies are being prosecuted as criminals, which will be the basis to remove it altogether. You will not pay your way out of anything. It's terrorism. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:49 a.m. This is the people of the state gang stalking. The dog is barking with regard to monitoring. It's all surveillance methods, all of it. P.O.C. It's 8:50 a.m. Sad. 8YNC 992 was hiding at the back of the parking lot while I'm walking toward the back of the parking lot where she was here, remember, in the morning, stalking on video, and is engaging in what is surveillance while I'm in the grocery store with the people of the state. 01585 Zebra 3, 9 Yolanda Bob Robert 400. This is the significance of monitoring only to the mentally ill. It's significant to them that they come to the venue and engage in what is the stalking in the path while the helicopter flies over you, and then I'm capturing you hiding in the back of the parking lot when you already completed your purchase, and that was like over 35 minutes ago, and you're still here lurking, and then you drive by me when you are caught on camera, when you know that I see you, when you're stalking, period. And you don't have any sense of belonging. You're under the fake sun. You're stalking under all circumstances, and you're stalking, and you're still here stalking because you're obsessed with me and you want to be there when the helicopter flies over because you're mentally ill. And to them who are monitoring, it is symbolic of them participating in that ritual, which is only getting you committed. Nonetheless, that's 8YNC 992, listening to everything, monitoring everything while I'm in the bathroom. All right, I just want to point out something else that you'll notice as well, how rapidly it went from being a sunny day to a cloudy day. As I'm pointing out the evidence, for example, the moment that I reference Carlos, who's gang stalking at El Pollo Loco, both at 7 in the morning and 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, the moment that I brought that up, which is not going to change, I didn't have to bring that up in order for everybody in Stater Brothers to be going to prison, including Carlos that's not even in the parking lot this morning. This is a whole body of evidence speaking to a lot of people who are getting locked up, but the entity engages in what is covering up that fake sun. The more that I speak and remind these short-sighted vagina monitors about the environment that prosecutes them, where surveillance is underway, and where mental illness shared by a society is identified. All right. In other words, medical professionals that are assessing the way in which the threat that you are is being neutralized, they're aware of the environment and they're looking at you on a large scale with regard to how they're going to neutralize the threat that you are, being a mentally ill people, a mentally ill population. And they're acting with, which would be prudent, acting with the legitimate law enforcement agencies that are going to execute how you lock down and prosecute a population, which is what's happening to the state of California. A bunch of psychopaths that are under the fake sun, gang stalking the prosecutor. P.O.C. You'll pay attention to how the fake sun rapidly is covered up, which is evidence that you're mentally ill as well. This is the P.O.C. I'm at Vesta and Vine while the fake sun is remaining over me. And you've already documented that. That phenomenon is never going to be erased. It's only in the minds of creatures that were never designed to withstand a prosecution with facts and evidence. Never. All right. The entity that's engaging in that conduct is the entity that's going to be locked down with a severe means of federal law that we haven't seen ever, because you're talking about doctrines that exist in the Constitution, but we're in 2026. So it's going to be revamped with regard to the necessity of locking down those that are engaged in advanced means of terrorism with technology and gang violence by demons that are engaging in attacks that are supernatural, but which I've shown you are proven through tangible evidence, just knowing what you're looking at, knowing what you're surrounded by, knowing how that operates. And this is, in other words, operating, executing with wisdom. Wisdom, by the way, that can only come from knowing Christ Jesus, who gives you this insight. So if you think a tarot card reading, if you think some sort of white magic, if you think that that's not it, that's not, you are inferior to what is the wisdom that the Lord God only is providing with regard to the inferior demonic spirit that cannot hide from Christ Jesus. He will tell you all of Satan's secrets. And this is how you're prosecuting the satanic system of gang stalking, which is witchcraft. All right. And they're being prosecuted based on what is going to be addressed as mental illness, your behavioral health issue presented as a society. Martial law in 2026. Coming soon. P.O.C. All right, monitoring through the neighborhood, stalking with light activity as I am walking along Vesta. Those are the demons starting the ignition. License 7 Larry 84937 at 324 C Street. This is P.O.C. That's the pattern of conduct. The entity that's engaging in that is doing so while they are monitoring evidence, engaging in that pattern of conduct while they're stalking in the middle of the street while I'm along Vesta. So they're on what is D Street, stalking in the, C Street, stalking in the path while I'm documenting that P.O.C. This is the entire neighborhood that's gang stalking. And I've already, this is C Street and Fern in particular. And as you hear the ignition start, that's the stalker, license 7 Larry 84937, light activity in the middle of the street at what is also 324 C Street in Ontario, California. This is the entity that's engaging what is facilitating everybody in the neighborhood that is gang stalking right along with them while they're maintaining that evidence of psychopathic disorders amongst those who are monitoring demons that are engaging in surveillance, conspiring together, working together toward murdering someone that they are gang stalking. And this is happening on what is C Street and Fern, in between Palm and Fern. This is where I'm at, where the entity was monitoring. While I'm at the library, this entity that's gang stalking, and I showed you the picture of the demon at 218 C Street who's stalking in front of her home, which is a facilitating venue. This is that same street. So I'm in alignment with the library where they are stalking in the path while the entity is maintaining plane after plane. Remember, I am one person, so I'm at the library documenting relevant positioning within the zone of where I'm located. They're stalking all the way up the street throughout the entire city. And as I'm walking on this street, to give you context about where I'm at, and while they're engaging in that which is relevant to my position, while I'm walking on Vesta, you're stalking, and on the adjacent street, you're maintaining flashing of light, where the entity is engaging what is covering up the fake sun, which you already know this is the environment where you're stalking with light activity in the path, including where you live, where you will be subject to a raid and prison, honey. You will be going to federal prison. The government, you don't have anywhere to hide. You have no protection under the Constitution to gang stalk where you live, which is the dumbest thing you could ever do. Gang stalk where you work, the dumbest thing you could ever do. But they're creatures, so this was inevitable. You're a creature. You're not going to outthink me. Okay. This is the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. The ignition by the demon, the female in the passenger seat of that truck is engaging with his activity creation while she knows exactly what I'm talking about. That's an entity. I'm going to start the vehicle now while you start documenting me. And she's got the flashes on monitoring me while they expected me to walk down Vesta. The Vesta is the street that I walked down this morning where the entity was engaging in criminal summoning. All right. And that's why the entity does what it does as it does it. They are engaging in criminal activity together. They are engaging in activity creation surrounding me, a perimeter of activity, while they are monitoring, and they're all monitoring pursuant to an unlawful search, federal stalking, under Title 18, utilizing communication devices with the intent to engage in surveillance, and also which is harassing and psychologically torturous, sexually violent, predatory, and in furtherance of a criminal objective such as murder as well. This is that which is satisfying the language of the existing statute, and it is going above and beyond what that language of that statute is inclusive of. And this is also my advocacy regarding more language, because the government that's engaging in criminal surveillance is engaged in federal stalking, and psychological torture needs to be recognized, and you're going to prison for what the entity is engaging in. But nonetheless, this is the entity that's doing so. So it's very obvious. When I go to the grocery store and I'm being gang stalked, before I get to the grocery store where I'm being gang stalked, I was at the library and I was being gang stalked. And the night before, I was being gang stalked by the entity stalking me by helicopter as I was coming from the library in another city, where I was being gang stalked at that library in another city. The entity is engaging in what is suicidal behavior, meaning you are sacrificing yourself. You have no hidden engagement in anything. You are literally delusional while you are engaging in the criminal conduct that's already been proven, which people are witnessing and learning the truth of what I told them a long time ago regarding the formula of what demons are doing when they are monitoring you, which is pursuant to stalking you, relevant to what is knowledge about you, while they are psychotic, acting like they're strangers towards you, and they're targeting you. They will be committed, but you're witnessing them engage in walking right into what is the evidence. Everyone watch them engage in criminal activity, because that's what's happening on candid camera. Everyone is watching the government engage in criminal activity, and the government is license plate 9SBK973, stalking at the intersection, license 8 Frank Jerry Wendy 221, stalking at the intersection, doing so while they are monitoring. And this is the intersection of Palm and D Street. This is P.O.C, where I've already documented the fake son. So covering it up because I started talking about Carlos, that's gang stalking at the El Pollo Loco inside of the same Ontario Village Shopping Center, while I'm reminding you about the demon that's gang stalking 8YNC992, who was still stalking in the parking lot long after, almost an hour after she completed her purchases, and she's hanging around, obsessed with me, stalking me, and then fleeing when I'm walking to the back of the parking lot where this demon is hiding, obsessing, stalking me. This is an entity that's engaging in that which is already exposed. You're a bunch of stalkers under a fake sun, and that is a formula for not only exposed criminal conduct, a matter of public corruption, that which the government had to learn about until it could understand how it's going to execute prosecuting it, but it will nonetheless be prosecuted. It is the evidence to have that entity, which is again an unprecedented basis, something that the government has to learn how to do, a problem that it has in this country now, a society of mentally ill. The society of those that are deranged, that are a threat to the not only a threat to the republic, but a threat to the American people. Like, you can't just walk outside, you can't just live amongst them, you can't be around them. They have to be separated by martial law. All right, because they're unstable. They're engaging in this when you are subject to the pattern of conduct. You can't go to church, is what the evidence shows you. You're not going to church. You're not at a genuine church. They're not believers. They're not even worshiping. They're worshiping Satan, but they're not worshiping the Lord God himself as they claim to be. And you would also know that when you know the truth of the word of God, you're witnessing what is a confirmation regarding the truth of the word of God while you're witnessing this evidence. So those of you who know Christ and know the word of God, you are experiencing what is a confirmation, as I'm even maintaining an investigation, that you would know that they're not true believers, because the Bible says that you will know them and you'll know them by their deeds. This is not merely just falling short and being imperfect. These are wicked people who serve Satan and their demons, trying to cloak themselves. They are literally the wheat and the ones that, in other words, the Lord God is going to separate. He said he's going to separate us. He's exposing who they are. They're not hiding amongst his children anymore. So this is that time as well. And this is relevant to a prosecution. They're also not humans. They're not law-abiding citizens. They're demons that are amongst us, and they're monitoring us. And with regard to the government, that's criminal activity. That's all government state action, all of it. In its corruption, while the government seeks to cloak itself as a private citizen, as private speech. All right, going from what is prosecuting you for stealing from me to prosecuting the government for theft as an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. Now that's terrorism. That's different. That's a whole other level, and that's what they're doing. All right, this is the P.O.C. It's 9:02 a.m. This is gang stalking, as you're already aware of it, covering up the fake sun. You already saw it over the Stater Brothers. You already saw it while I am en route to this venue. And the entity covering that up is the entity that is engaging in nothing other than evidence of surveillance. And they're psychotic. They're psychotic. There is nothing about the covering up of the fake sun and also the documentation of evidence that's underway at nightfall, but nonetheless, this is the entity that is engaging in what is witchcraft, and it is not the natural environment. There is no such thing, by the way, as actual climate change. Climate control, you know what's controlling it? These demons. That's what they mean by climate control. This is demonic. That's what climate control is a reference to. It's not a reference to what the illusion that's been presented to you. It's the natural environment, and it's all the pollution, and it's affecting in a terrible manner the climate. No, these are demons that are engaging in what is controlling the climate, meaning covering up the fake sun, showing it. And where does it arrive over me at any point in the day? Over my head. That's what climate control is amongst the demons that are monitoring. That's what they mean by climate control. Now you know what that means, because climate control is not an actual function or response by the natural environment pursuant to the ongoing harms that we are. You shouldn't be littering. And yes, this is true. Putting oil in the water and all the horrible things that this entity that's gang stalking does, because they do not care about the natural environment that the Lord God created. They do not care at all. They are wasting resources while they're creating an illusion regarding a burden to you. They want you to conserve, and they're wasting all manner of resources on criminal surveillance. That's the part that they're also not addressing. Wasting billions of dollars on surveillance. They do not care whatsoever in the least amount regarding actual conservation and the maintenance of an environment. They are about destruction. They are about destroying as much as they can, and also doing it under the guise of things such as climate control and climate change. Neither do those doctrines, which are created by Satan, and the government departments that are speaking of it. Those are demons. They're deceiving you. They're not ignorantly speaking to that which they don't know. Those are demons. That's a spirit. That's a spirit that's trying to deceive you. And it's operating through functions of the government. And that is, again, getting to bigger picture. A waste of money by the Treasury. Wasting money. Wasted on criminal activity. Maintaining an illusion is a part of the government's agenda with regard to this regime. Lying to you about the environment. Oh, it's good. The climate control, even that lie does not address why the fake sun will remain sitting over one building all day long. That's not addressed by your lie regarding climate control and climate change. That's not addressing that. When are we going to get to the fact that the sun's not moving and that there's necessarily more than one sun when I could YouTube live or Facebook live with somebody in Kansas and them standing under the fake sun and me standing under the fake sun is not the same object. With climate control, your lie about climate control does not address that. In addition to the fact that they're demons and there is no such thing as climate control. They're making up narratives regarding why they need to raise more money and why they need this organization and this nonprofit org and why we need this employment position and we need this director and we need to pay them this amount of money because we need to accomplish this objective because this is so important about this environment and we need this department in the government. They're all making money off of what is this surveillance system? P.O.C. Are you going to the Catholic Church while you're gang stalking? Go ahead, let me get out your way.
No,
This is the entity that's stalking in the path instead of behind. Monitoring. Alrighty, this is the entity that's engaged in that. And you're doing so outside of the doors of a Catholic church because everybody inside of that Catholic church is a demon monitoring as well. This is a P.O.C., a weirdo. They're all weirdos though. All of them. The entity's engaging in what is standing behind me, and the moment that I turn around abruptly, I do, it gets caught in you're stalking, you're monitoring, and you're stalking. But the entity's embarrassed by me because I'm always catching demons engaging in that which the point of it is they're supposed to be like, whatever, you're crazy. I'm not stalking you. In real life, you've got a whole altar with my picture. You masturbate to my images. You watch me on camera. You obsess and you fantasize about me while you listen to my podcast. You pray to Satan about becoming me, and gang stalking me is your delusional effort in trying to become me, and it is never going to happen. You're going to be committed. Let me repeat it again. You are going to be committed. This is the P.O.C. being gang stalked at the St. George Paul Catholic Church, where a bunch of demons are congregating while I'm being gang stalked outside of the walls of that fake church, which you already know. Literally, these idiots stalk me by helicopter here, stalking by commercial planes under the fake sun, and criminal summoning, which I document. They're not bright. They're just not bright at all. They're not. It wasn't designed for them to withstand what is being ambushed by the Holy Spirit. They're creatures, and you need to understand who Christ is. There is none that can contend with him. None. He created everything, even their feeble minds. Alrighty, it is currently 9:07 a.m. This is P.O.C. That is Southwest Airlines as I walk into the entrance of the Catholic Church. This Catholic church where they have erected statues of dead people, this is demonic. It's demonic activity, and it's also criminal activity. And there's no planes taken off from the airport where Southwest Airlines from Terminal 4 is going to fly over St. George Catholic Church. And it's the same thing with regard to gang stalking me at H Street, H as in Henry, and Euclid Avenue, which Southwest Airlines is also engaging in. That is speaking to the same defendant that are filling up this St. George Catholic Church where a cult is engaging in the criminal activity under the guise of what is a false religion. You are not supposed to be worshiping dead people, and it's not a freedom of religion, right? It's a cult that's engaging in what is criminal and demonic activity. That's what you are a part of. And they're gang stalking a Christ follower. You are enemies of the Lord God, period. And this is outside of the doors of the church. This is P.O.C. at St. George Catholic Church.
We await the flexible and the government of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Lord Jesus Christ, you said to your apostle, peace I with you, my peace I give you. Look not on our sin, but on the faith of your just and graciously grant the peace and unity in accordance with your will, who live and reign forever and ever. The peace of the Lord be with you always. So let us offer each other the sign of hospice.
POC. This is relevant positioning, light activity, and audible activity. And this is the enemy of Christ Jesus engaging in criminal surveillance, targeting persecution, even under the guise of worshiping Christ Jesus. Which, by the way, you're also not doing when you are worshiping dead people, which is demonic. POC. Okay, the evidence as I walk out of the restroom of St. George Catholic Church is, and well, outside of St. George's Catholic Church, the restroom inside of that venue, which is established by virtue of the fake sun evidence, the impossible light, which I captured during the service of demons that are engaging in satanic rituals and calling it a church service that has anything to do with Christ Jesus. While Southwest Airlines is flying over the parking lot. This is the entity that's engaging in surveillance in that bathroom. And as I walk out, these are sex offenders, not Christ followers. These are monitoring spirits, not Christ followers. These are defendants in the federal case against the United States government for surveillance and furtherance of murder, not followers of Christ. And by the way, followers of Christ do not pray to dead people. Even if those dead people were disciples of Christ, we do not worship other people. We don't worship dead people. We who follow Christ don't do that. That is demonic. This is the entity, and Satan wants the ignorant to engage in demonic activity even when it sounds noble. Oh, this isn't worshiping Charles Manson. This is worshiping St. Paul. He wrote Bibles for the Lord God. So we pray to him. We pray to Mary. She gave birth to baby Jesus. You're praying to dead people. And you're not engaging in anything other than Satanism. And this is the ways in which Satan has gotten many members into his cult. His cult goes by many names: the U.S. military, law enforcement agencies, the state of California, the culture that is, the cult that is the social media and the entertainment industry. That's a cult, and they're cult members, and they are again initiated into that. Sacrifices made to be a part of that and to prosper in it. It's a cult. The maintenance of the false religion, which again, false religion, that occurs even when you never step foot into a church building and utter the name of Jesus while you're engaging in cult conduct, or shout out the name of Lucifer as you engage in cult conduct. Okay, it's the same. Just want to be clear. This is understanding what is the spiritual significance of what you're engaging in, no matter what your intentions are. Oh, well, I intend to do good. You intend to burn in hell when you engage in that which the Lord God has clearly delineated as that which the wicked practice. Period. The wicked practice. And they practice it
while they are oppressed, by the way. They practice it while Satan has control, dominion, influence over them. Meaning spell work, which is real, witchcraft, which is real, has an effect on you. It not only affects you, but it controls you. While you are in that spirit, while you are in sin, while you are in bondage, while you are practicing idolatry, which is the many, many ways in which you are a cult member. Okay, while we're speaking in these broad terms, which maintain what are actual significance regarding the ways in which Satan is doing the same thing and ways in which people are comfortable with it. You might not ever go to a sanctuary of demon worshiping cult followers that eat kids. Oh, you'll never do that. But you'll go to a Beyonce concert where literally she's showing a large image of the portal that is her vagina, which appears like an escalator that you're walking through. That's demonic. It's perverted. That level of perversion is demonic. That's a Jezebel. Practicing witchcraft right in front of you. Literally the concert and everything you're surrounded by, the words that she is singing beautifully in your ear. Satan seducing you, being nude in front of your face, entrancing you, casting spells over you. And you're in that audience amongst demons that are at home, in the midst of that satanic ritual that you participate in at the level of comfort that you have, where you won't do the other. You won't do one, but you'll do the other. And before God, a holy God, it's the same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. Nonetheless, I want to speak to the entity that's maintaining amplified noise in the city. This is what Stater Brothers is doing inside of the store. It's amplified audible activity. The city of Ontario is monitoring. These are demons, okay? So the entities engage in this, and I just want to be clear. This is relevant to a demon that will never be reconciled unto me. Okay, we're never going to be friends. I don't care if you came to Jesus. This is wonderful. Praise the Lord. He is able to save. Absolutely. That has nothing to do with whether I, Erica Spencer, am ever going to deal with you. I will not. There is nothing, in fact, actually attractive about you. This is an unprecedented basis of incompetence, of selfishness, pursuant to what is your demon, while you're engaging what is sex with these filthy celebrities that are Satanists. You're a Satanist. That's why you're penetrating their genitalia. You're engaging in demonic activity together, even targeting me, and doing so while it is also self-serving, that you then flip and get on the right side of justice. And now you are, oh my goodness, I love the Lord and I want to now have sex with the targeted individual that's prosecuting and has been speaking the truth since the beginning. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Okay, my concern is not whether you in particular, one who is a terrorist and under the law does not, in my book and under the evidence, change that. But this is the reality regarding American citizens who under Jason Fields are dead and would be dead by now. This is not a hero. This is not competence. This is not anyone that is going to be reconciled unto me. So this is what I want you to be mindful of. I am not being mean when I am speaking and casting out lies out of the pit of hell regarding things that are never going to happen, pertaining to those who are wicked, who have engaged in that which is wicked, which I am not under any obligation to even entertain. It is a distraction. It is an act of what is literally demonic, while I am pestered with demons that are not focused on your job. That's why into 2026, you still haven't engaged in what is stopping gang stalking. And the ordinary target individual is already dead on your watch. You're a failure. I just want you to know that. While you were engaging in group sex rituals with the celebrities that now are being prosecuted. Long after. People, how many people died on your watch while you're in a threesome? How many people died? Okay, no, we're not ever going to be friends. And while I'm outside being gang stalked, you cannot make up for that. And you cannot force anyone to acknowledge you as being worthy. You're not. Someone who is worthy is someone that is never engaging in it, ever, for an hour, not one day, ever. You can't be seduced into sacrificing people. You can't be paid and tricked and bamboozled into gang stalking someone and enabling it to happen. That's not going to happen when you're worthy. You're not worthy. And it will never happen. And you can't retroactively establish yourself as worthy. You're having sex with Tracy. You're unworthy. It's never gonna happen. Period. You can never take that mucus off of your body. You can never get that Jezebel spirit far enough away from you. If Jezebel laid down with you and Jezebel had her way with every part of you, you have no parts with me. Period. That's what this is about. And there is, I just want to be clear, in real life, you're not preserving yourself for who the Lord God has for you in order to be forced to settle with a demon like that. That's not what God is calling me to do. Perhaps, and I'm not going to down that, because there are those that God has called you to reconcile with those that have wronged you. And that is where forgiveness is met with re-entry. You're granted access, reconciliation. But reconciliation is not a required aspect regarding, it's not a prerequisite to forgiveness. It has one has nothing to do with the other. When you are forgiving your boyfriend that you were fornicating with, shacked up with, and he used to beat the daylight out of you, you forgive him, but you don't get back into a relationship with him, right? Okay, everyone knows the answer to that. Everyone knows the answer to that. That has nothing to do with whether or not you're forgiving them. Well, I have to. And obviously, I don't have any reason not to. Oh, I forgive you, absolutely. I'm getting my money. I'm getting delivered from you. I never have to look at your face and be disgusted with all the sex acts you've engaged with people while I was outside being gang stalked and you were sitting up, somebody was sitting on your face. And in the name of targeting me for some spiritual authority that you cannot steal from me as an inferior creature of the devil. Whatever your date of salvation is, that's between you and the Lord. It has nothing to do with what will never happen. You are not reconciling yourself unto me. No wicked deed, no wicked actor is going to be rewarded in that manner. And I'm also not going to spread around what is a dangerous and false idea that you should even be met with that sort of end, okay? With that being the result, with regard to over 8 years of suffering, which was not because of my sin. It's not like I did something wrong. It's not like I made a wrong decision, other than speaking and addressing someone like Jason Fields. A mistake. I still would have been targeted because Tracy Banks was targeting me with everyone. Jason Fields is an exceptionally foolish person who was given over to excesses. Okay, this is someone with no self-control. That's literally demonic. He's a demon. And so you're talking about beyond that, which is you're getting into your job. So now your unethical, corrupt conduct is threatening the lives of other people. And you think I'm going to be reconciling to you? No, it's not going to happen. I'm not only disgusted with what you've done to me, it's what other people would suffer with the likes of you. It's disgusting. It will never happen. It's never going to happen. And this is someone's ego that's relying on forgiveness of me. That's because you're still worshiping me. And you need to find your own identity, get a life, and get over it. Because when I say no, that's exactly what I mean. And it's actually what I say, not what you say. And you learn that. You're the last one to learn that. Which does not change the fact that it's absolutely 100% true. It's not going to happen. And anything like that would never have any actual, true, genuine, lasting relationship with me. Everyone that is unworthy has been cut off. And that includes especially demons like Jason Isaac Fields. And if my own gang stalking fake mother, Tracy Banks, is not admitted, you need to understand that you're even less important. You're not relevant. And this is just the fact. You're not relevant. What is remaining in your mind, which was monumental, and you're so toxic and unhealthy that you behaved as though I was an enemy when actually you were a fan, that's your bad. That's your fault. That's your problem. Because based on what has already been done, the results and the decree has already been made. And this is relevant. What I'm documenting, what I'm subject to. Understand, just like you were all witnessing, the average person is already dead. They're already in a facility somewhere, like a vegetable. And Jason Fields isn't even thinking about that. He isn't even thinking about that. They're sitting around somewhere suffering, and they're not speaking out. They're not prosecuting any and calling out anything. While he's having sex with a bunch of demons that are celebrities, a bunch of cockroaches, a bunch of creatures that he's worshiping. He's worshiping them. It's pathetic. It's disgusting. And I'm not going to mince words with that. That is what was gang stalking me. And that is not some future spouse of mine. That is absurd. That is absurd. That is out of hell. This is someone whose life lesson is going to be, while you are facing judgment for what you did to the wrong person, for the person that you treated in an improper manner, and it was literally the grace of God. And you defecated on it. That's what you did with the grace of God. That's his lesson. And everyone else, you should be wise and learn the lessons that other people learn the hard way. Don't go through it yourself. His lesson is to experience that, and hopefully it will change his life. But his lesson is not going to be included, oh, well, can we now, let's get this back together. No, we ain't figuring nothing out. There's nothing. Ain't nothing getting back together. We were never together in the first place. You were together with my mom's genitalia. That's what you were doing. You were getting up and under a whole bunch of celebrities worshiping Satan because they're not noble and they're not worthy and they're not higher than anybody else. They're a bunch of vagina monitors that are standing on stages leading the masses to hell. They're roaches in my book, and you worship those roaches. That's what you were having sex with, and you knew that I was being gang stalked the whole time. That is not going to be rewarded with association with me. It's not going to happen. I refuse. It will never happen. And that's a matter of principle. That's not going to happen, okay? This has nothing to do with the ongoing execution of a federal case. By all means, please do your job, Satan. Do your job. Because people would have already been dead, and people are dead, and it's blood on his hands. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:46 a.m. The entity is stalking with the people that say, I want you to see them. These are the terrorists that are gang stalking with minor kids. This is the engaging in what is with the people of the state whose children are engaging in the public corruption of criminal monitoring. In the city of Ontario, engaging in psychopathic conduct, sounding all their sirens, all the demons that are going to be unemployed and prosecuted terrorists. Whether I documented them personally or not, they're all going to be unemployed. They're engaging in criminal summoning, monitoring, and this is your average psychopath gang stalking in Ontario while the entity's flying over by helicopter like nothing is happening. P.O.C. This is the stalking and engaging in criminal summoning, doing so while the entity's been engaged in stalking. I took the military stalking in jets as well. This is the city of Ontario that's engaged in that pattern of conduct. These are creatures. These are the demon possessed. This is the Nephilim. And this is that surveillance system of the gang stalking at the OVITT Family Community Library. Stalking over the City Hall, the Senior Center, John Stewart Apartments. They're all being federally prosecuted as well. Everywhere that they live, the entire housing community, they're all being prosecuted, and this is prosecuting the entire city. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct. They're all stalking, all harassing together, targeting together. Alrighty, and they're equally invested in the conspiracy to commit murder while the city of Ontario is doing so on video again tonight at what is 8:24 p.m. This is the prosecution of domestic terrorism, which is going to result in what is commitments and martial law in California. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:25 p.m. $8:26 p.m. Gang stalking, flying in circles over the law school that's going to lose accredited status, and you are not practicing law graduating from a gang stalking institution in California. Also over the Ontario City Hall, where Paulion, the Ontario City Council, and the employees are all going to be unemployed. They're being released as terrorists, and I'm prosecuting specifically the kidnappers of the Ontario City Council. P.O.C. It's 8:26 p.m. The entity stalking with light. These are the mentally ill. They're being committed. This is a criminal case for damages against every single facilitating venue, against Sarah's Regis, against GI Partners, against John Stewart Company. This is the entity that's going to be federally prosecuted with regard to the criminal damage, the criminal conduct that the entity is being prosecuted for, and then damages that the government is going to compensate. The people of the state are going to compensate as well, however. This is the P.O.C. It's 8:28 p.m. This is psychopathic pacing by helicopter, while the entity is engaging in what is its nightly, daily ritual regarding terrorism by helicopter, which is the prosecution of the state of California, engaging in the U.S. military's P.O.C. Those are the homosexuals of the cult of the that are engaged in the military, engaging in that in the city of Ontario that's gang stalking me together, conspiring murder together, levying war together. And they're also going to be compensating the targeted individual together. They're going to be facing commitments, involuntary commitments together. They're going to be subject to martial law together. All of this is very serious, and it's actually occurring. So, P.O.C. It's 8:28 p.m. It's 8:32 p.m. That's amplified train activity. It's as demonic and impossible as the light activity. That's the entity monitoring by stalking in a helicopter, and all the people of the state that are stalking as well, including by living at the John Stewart apartment complex. They're all being prosecuted. And the elderly are going to be homeless. They can't pay their rent. They're going to be homeless. And this is why you do not feel sorry for terrorists that are going to be homeless without any government support. This is P.O.C. It's 8:33 p.m. while the entity that is on HUD housing, for example, are gang stalking. And they will be removed from those facilitating venues. They will not be living there anymore getting any government assistance. This is P.O.C. The entity is stalking by helicopter as of 8:33 p.m. They're not the only ones that are on welfare gang stalking. That's going to be rectified. It is 8:39 p.m. Remember the Ontario Civic Center, and it also includes Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue. The Mule Cart Smokehouse, all of these venues are being prosecuted simultaneously while the entity is engaging in the routine terrorism of stalking by helicopter, which is psychological torture, harassment, retaliatory behavior, a threat to literally my life and safety and well-being. The entity is flying over the roof of the OVITT Family Community Library where I am located. And the entire population, the people of the state, are engaging in this criminal act of terrorism in concert with the military, stalking in helicopter, following me around to stalk me in helicopter, and engaging in criminal monitoring on my device while I prosecute this entity by stalking by helicopter. This is P.O.C. This is 8:40 p.m. This is the prosecution of the entity that's going to be subject to martial law for engaging in terrorizing an American citizen by stalking and monitoring together by helicopter. These are mentally ill terrorists who are not human, and this is how the demon-possessed shall be prosecuted for domestic terrorism with law and in courts where you are able to prosecute the demon-possessed who are going to be treated under the law with regard to what are constitutional rights because they look like humans, and they're going to be treated like humans in court. With regard to the rights that they have under the law, they have lost a criminal case for domestic terrorism, and they're going to be committed. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:41 p.m. And this is that same entity stalking by plane. This is the prosecution of the population. So. This is literally the evidence to prosecute the entire city, and this is prosecuting the state. They're hovering over the John Stewart Apartments, where the demon that resides there as an entity is harassing me also in the dark, early in the morning, stalking in the path, monitoring as they are as a population that's engaging in this by planes and helicopters. The terrorism by the people of the state is going to be met with martial law and prosecution of that population as terrorists. That's going on the criminal record, and they shall be subject to what is the prosecution under all areas of law as terrorists, which is going to affect every area of their life, including what is mass deportation. It's 8:43 p.m. This is the entity engaging in that conduct together. It's also relevant in the prosecution of the state of California that the people of the state engage in ongoing terrorism with impunity. Meaning, as they were documented, engaging in terrorism, they did not stand down from levying war and against an American citizen that has the entire force of the federal government to protect them and enforce the laws against that population that is a terrorist. Terrorism is not based on numerosity, okay? So you are not going to be treated as though you're not terrorists because you're a population of them. To the contrary, you will be treated as a severely threatening national security threat because you are a terrorist that is a population, the state of California. This is the P.O.C., that's the entity stalking, and that's the military sharing in that. And this shall result in what are commitments. It is currently 8:44 p.m. stalking me by planes and helicopters and adding the helicopter activity while the entity is engaging in that P.O.C., which is ceaseless. It is 8:44 p.m. This is the entity stalking by plane, flying over the John Stewart apartment complex while I'm at the OVITT, monitoring while I am on my device, uploading the YouTube videos of this entity stalking me by helicopter, and while the people of the state are gang stalking by pacing right here in the walkway while they are monitoring me with the government via aerial surveillance. While it's uploading, this is the entity gang stalking. It's 9 p.m. where the entity's hovering over this apartment complex, over the Civic Center, outside of what are having anything to do with the legitimate operations of the airport in Ontario, which is the removal of that airport. I'm prosecuting the board and the executive. The city of Ontario is being prosecuted while I'm documenting this terrorism by the state while I'm in Ontario. While they're engaging in federal stalking on my device, surveillance of the evidence, interfering with the case while it's underway. P.O.C. and they're doing that with the people. Documenting a stalker right now, walking the little white dog. You'll see that. This is the people stalking with impunity in the environment with the government by planes and helicopters. And these are demons, okay? Demons that look like they're humans on the outside are going to be prosecuted in the courts. They're going to be subject to martial law. They're going to be committed, and they will be prosecuted on the record as terrorists. This is P.O.C. It's currently 9:01 p.m. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. This is the same third parties at Wendy's that are engaging in monitoring. The entity's stalking by planes while they're not entering the door during business hours. And this is the third incident, while the entity is also monitoring the evidence on the venue of the internet. Okay, it does say 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. I just want to say that, and that's what's also advertised on the internet. So this is P.O.C. I just want to get the entity ignoring me while they're locking the door during business hours. Oh, let me show you the door, just so you can see that. Remember, Lupe is the third party that is on camera lying about the restaurant being closed, and then she is engaging what is threatening to call the police while they're gang stalking. This is the P.O.C. And this is the third incident of locking. And this is the pattern. So the entity is clearly in the wrong. This is what the entity is engaging in, and it's also a lawsuit for Wendy's upon gang stalking. The psychopathic conduct is for the entity to engage in more of that, as though it's better to be like, oh, well, we're just engaging in regular poor customer service while we're also gang stalking, as opposed to just doing it in the target individual caught it. Or so there's no logic or morale, but this is what the entity does when you are documenting them engaging in the P.O.C. They'll engage in more of it, as expensive as it is and costly as it is. This is the pattern of conduct in the engineer light. They're monitoring. Hi, is the restaurant closed?
We closed because our system went down.
Okay, you closed because the system. So it's not like last time when you closed and you were really open?
No, we weren't open, but we were understaffed, that's why.
The last time? The last two times?
Well, last two times. I wasn't here the last two times.
Well,
I was here
yeah,
that one time.
you were. I'm just making sure it's actually not a means of targeting me again. You're not just blocking me. Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure. So it's closed because your system went down?
Yeah, we're like can't put in the order.
Oh, you can't put in any orders?
Yeah, we can't put in any orders or like take any, like our registers are like down and everything.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, is it possible to get a cup of ice? Are you guys, yeah?
You could price.
I can't buy it or what? I can't buy
No,
it?
because we can't like put it in because our system isn't up right now. It like went down like I want to say 15 minutes ago.
So I can't buy nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, can I get a cup of ice? Is that okay? Alrighty. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that the two prior times, so I documented it. This is why you also capture, and This is impossible light while the entity is monitoring. They're stalking at AutoZone in the path with light, crossing path. This is the military base. Near light. And Lupe, that's 1 shadow, 2 shadow, 3 shadow, 4 shadows. There's another shadow over here. This is the pattern of conduct, and this is the entity stating that you heard what she said, but remember, Lupe is stating that the restaurant was open, and then when I asked her to double down on that statement, she refused to answer, and then engaged in harassing me because she was clearly in the wrong. And before the entities, by locking the door during business hours, that's why. Okay, so thank you, Skyly. Is the restroom not available? Or
well, we closed like dining and stuff, but I don't know if my manager would be okay with that because we are getting ready to leave since our system went down.
right.
Yeah.
So is that a no?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, that's fine. Thank you. Yep. All right, this is the P.O.C. It's currently 9:34 p.m. This is the same pattern of conduct. She is monitoring, even while they're stating that they can't because the system's down. They're monitoring. They're still going to prison. This is my shadow. That's audible activity. This is the pattern of conduct. They're monitoring with Skyly that are stating that their system is down. This is the P.O.C. Okay, the entity's engaged in psychopathic pacing while the entity's stalking by helicopter. I want you to see this. This is what, by the way, in Pomona. This is a good imagery for you. The planes, the group of planes, and it was more than this. I documented this regarding 2018. Pomona, California, the Pomona Police Department, the military in Pomona, California, engaged in this behavior, okay? Groups of planes in the sky space over me, following me around in the city of Pomona. And this is where the entity's engaging in the pattern of conduct at Wendy's. And remember what she just said, it's because her system's down, that's why she can't. But the entity's engaging in what is gang stalking through the drive-thru, pacing in the sky space, and pacing in the parking lot. This is a mentally ill population. This is pursuant to what they're doing. They're monitoring. It's surveillance, but this is mentally ill behavior as the demon-possessed monitor you, okay? Going through the drive-thru is accomplishing the same criminal pattern of conduct. All they did was add the information, oh, the systems are down. They're still pacing through the drive-thru, stalking, doing so with the military. Okay, Skyly and Lupe and all the rest of the employees are going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. License 6MQX427. This is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct while they are monitoring, engaging in criminal summoning. AutoZone's being prosecuted. I don't have to go over there and get all of them. The AutoZone, the entire corporate, is being prosecuted. License 9FIP492. The engine is on. They're in the vehicle, gang stalking, while the entity is engaged in criminal summoning. And what do? You just act like you're sleepwalking. This is the P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the entity that's engaged in that. That's the pattern of wall. The entity is in the parking lot, in the engineer light. You're not sleeping in this light activity. What the government hovering in the sky space. 8 Larry Mary Edward 396. And this is documentation of Wendy's engaging in a pattern of harassing me by excluding me from the restaurant while they're keeping me under surveillance and furtherance of murdering me. And they're sharing in that with the city of Ontario. All right, and this is why the fire department, the police department, and American Medical Response are being prosecuted, but they will be unemployed, and Ontario police are being disbanded. They will not have they're going to prison. This is criminal summoning. Ontario police are stalking. They're all going to prison. Skyly's going to prison. Remember, it's irrelevant stating that the restaurant is closed down, which is, again, lying. AutoZone's being prosecuted. I'm going to prosecute them for criminal monitoring with the Ontario police. Shell gasoline, all of these little mom and pop shops. The Ontario police are doing nothing other than stalking, which you saw while I am posting it on the internet regarding Upland police and the Ontario police who are stalking me on the roads and the highways under a whole fake sun. These are the demons at nightfall stalking with light as well. They're doing so while Wendy's restaurant is being federally prosecuted for it, and you are not engaging in anything other than criminal summoning in this environment. You see my shadow that's appearing inexplicably? That's not caused by light. That's above my head. That makes it appear upright on this floor, and this over here. And I've also documented right here at the same restaurant the fake sun over the top of my head. Okay, and you have a gang stalker that's acting like they're asleep in the car. You have the demons that are engaging in a pattern of excluding me from the restaurant. Okay, and that's because they're vagina monitors who are hostile to that. That's the P.O.C. That's the entity that's engaging in monitoring. Wendy's is being prosecuted. This is the corporate entity, and you are engaging in that pattern of conduct, including drones. This is a mentally ill population. This is martial law. They're going to be subject to martial law. They have exposed themselves to the world as being unstable as a population of murderers who engage in this. This is a population that eats human beings. And by the way, those that consume human beings, they shouldn't be operating restaurants, which is what Wendy's is testifying to. Okay, they eat human beings, they're kidnapping children, they're trafficking them, and they're gang stalking pursuant to those same feces consumers. These are demons. All right, and that's the corrupt operation of a gang stalking fast food restaurant, Wendy's. This is P.O.C. Skyly's going to prison. Okay? Skylee and all the rest of them, they're going to federal prison, and the entity's providing all of that evidence against them. There is absolutely nothing other than the pattern of conduct, criminal summoning. And this is what the threats of mental illness result in. Psychopathic pacing. Those are the legion of demons that are possessing the Ontario police, who are incriminating Wendy's. It's not taking the focus off of them. Skylee's engaging in criminal activity under all circumstances, and so is Wendy's. All right. And they're engaging in criminal activity with the entity that is stalking, wearing police uniforms, using city issued vehicles, AutoZone and the people. These are all gang members monitoring with that corrupt police that's being disbanded. The entire department is being disbanded, and none of them will be employed. None of them. That's the pattern of conduct. The entity follow me to Wendy's just to engage in that. And you are already aware that you just saw a bunch of gang members in the sky space. You saw all of that. Stalking in the sky space, stalking in the specific environment. This is the pattern of conduct, and this is mental illness that is a threat to you. This is a threat to you. They are unstable. They're not humans. These are demons. Okay? And demons that are operating police departments like what Rudy Lopez, Mike Lorenz, and Derek Williams are engaging in. You're talking about 3 terrorist leaders who are subject to prison for what I'm documenting. You're going to prison for terrorism in the United States. And that's what this is. This is the entity that is gang stalking at 9:39 p.m., stalking through the drive-thru where there's apparently no service provided, but they're engaging in what is loitering in the path. This is the entity that's maintaining surveillance. Skylee is gang stalking, and she's going to prison. That's why they're maintaining presence in the path, talking about there's nothing, it doesn't matter what she says, whether she lets me in or not, but because you did not let me in, because you are monitoring. That's relevant to the fact that you're monitoring, and it's a documented pattern. Okay, last time it was locked while the store was still open, and you were engaging in what is harassing, threatening to call the Ontario police who are gang stalking me at your restaurant. You're going to prison. Okay, that's the P.O.C. It is currently 9:40 p.m. where this is the entity that is engaging in that conduct with the military. The military are not the only ones infected with the HIV virus, engaging in what is gang stalking me in furtherance of murder. This is the department that committed what is kidnapping while targeting with the military in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder. And Rudy Lopez is going to prison for it. He's aiding and leading in this same criminal conspiracy. He's going to prison. I don't ever have to see his face. He's going to federal prison. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 9:40 p.m. and this is how you prosecute a population that are creatures. They're not designed to or intended to withstand a prosecution with tangible evidence, which is also evidence of their instability and the threat that they are to the country. This is the kidnapping and surveillance system underway throughout the entire state of California. So you need to look very closely at Gavin Newsom because he is unwell. And I am stating that conclusively with regard to the pattern of conduct that he is engaging in and leading in California, while you're looking at instability and criminal conduct being documented and prosecuted in Ontario. This is the P.O.C. It is currently, again, 9:41 p.m. All of this is looked at in context regarding Wendy's restaurant engaging in a documented pattern of excluding from the restaurant during business hours. And I want to get the current time again. It's 9:41 p.m. where the entity is engaging in that. They're engaging in criminal activity too. Also, irrespective of what she's stating as the reason why they're closing it again for the 3rd time during business hours, this time engaging what is providing an excuse for excluding from the restaurant. The entity's going to prison, period, because this is relevant positioning, criminal summoning in the path. It's the same for the demons that are in relevant position all around here. Okay, the entities engaging in that pattern of conduct while literally the military was in this over here, a gang of demons in the sky space. This is gang stalking, period, and they're going to prison. Okay, they're also engaging in poisoning with the demons that are speeding up and down Euclid Avenue. Wendy's engaged in poisoning. Skylee's going to prison, and they're actually lying about why, but it doesn't matter what the reason is. Okay, you can talk about a bomb threat. Guess who's engaging in that bomb threat? The people of the state that want to exclude me from the restaurant, who are monitoring right now. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct, and the Wendy's restaurant employees are going to prison, just like the Stater Brothers employees, just like the public library employees, just like the demons of the Ontario Police Department and Upland Police, as I document them, just like the employees of 7-Eleven. They're all going to federal prison, every single last one of them. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. and there's a long laundry list, a pool of defendants who are going to prison for gang stalking, and the entire population is subject to martial law, and that is clear as to why. This is levying war. This is what the entity's doing against American citizens that don't have evidence to prove it. And this is psychological harm that the entity's engaging in while they're stalking you as a population who knows exactly who you are. And they're stalking while they know who you are, engaging in surveillance conspicuously, which is psychotic as well. And then that agency is behaving as though they have authority under the law. They do that in order to commit murder and kidnappings, for which the Ontario police are being disbanded. And so is San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. and the San Bernardino County Courthouse, Rancho Cucamonga, they engage in kidnapping with these psychopaths. And I'm prosecuting Lisa Rogan. She's going to prison. All right, there's a whole laundry list of defendants while they engage in what is a psychotic break, engaging in showing how they're monitoring. Nobody benefits from that. There's a whole bunch of people who are psychopaths as well, and they're going to federal prison for kidnapping. They're going to federal prison for criminal defamation. This is the P.O.C. They're going to federal prison for facilitating stalking by a population, which is what you do while you conspire to murder, while levying war against an American citizen. And in the United States, when you levy war against an American citizen, you're going to be subject to martial law and you're going to be prosecuted, including when they do so as corporate entities such as what Wendy's is doing. P.O.C. It is currently 9:44 p.m. That was criminal summoning, stalking, psychopathic pacing, monitoring by aerial surveillance, while the entity is engaging in what is the collateral harm of harassment. This is the third time. This is a pattern by Wendy's upon gang stalking. That in and of itself is speaking to prison. And the entity is speaking to what is enhancement to charges, enhancement to time in prison. Skylee is accumulating more and more years in prison, in other words. That's what that means. You're getting more. This evidence is going to be used in that precise manner. And while the Ontario police include themselves in her criminal acts as an entity, she's getting more time in prison. That's exactly how this evidence is going to be used. This is the P.O.C. It is currently, that's the duration of the video. It's 9:45 p.m. P.O.C. Alrighty, it is currently 9:48 p.m. The people of the state are gang stalking on the adjacent streets, which I've already documented. So I'm going to go ahead and get these license plates over here, and then I'm going to go through the analysis of what you just witnessed, which was mental illness, which is shared by the demons that are gang stalking in the neighborhoods. They're going to be homeless, okay? This is the entity that's engaging in this conduct. While you see the mental illness of a corrupt police department, you need to understand that they are all equally mentally ill, okay? They are all of that same condition, engaging in the same exact criminal activity, and are stalking obsessively while being that. All right, the entity is flying over while the demon is stalking with headlights, stalking with light, that's what that is. And do so. This morning, for example, while I'm at C Street and Fern, you heard me document the moment that I started speaking on the podcast, that demon started the ignition. That's exactly what this demon just did right now. The moment that I arrive at the street, that is stalking with activity in the path, and the military just flew over the house. Okay, license 6 Charlie Edward Thomas 220. Gang stalking with the military. This is terrorism that you're engaging in, which you are not protected to engage in with the military where you live, or any place where you're at. They're engaging in sexual assault and battery as well. And this is the entity that's engaging that. I documented this neighborhood stalking psychopaths, getting and standing in the middle of the street while I'm going through getting all their house numbers. This is that same hood over here. They're all being federally prosecuted, and there's a large number of immigrants. They're being deported for engaging in terrorism with the mentally ill that you just heard on video. So this mentally ill population is sharing in that criminal activity with that police department that's overtly engaging in criminal monitoring. And license 8 Xavier Zebra Xavier 592 is sharing in that pattern of conduct, while gang members are stalking in the path, doing so while they are living in relevant position, in other words, to share in that surveillance system. They're all in relevant position while the entity was stalking on Holt Boulevard, pacing by police vehicles. This is what you see in the sky space while they're pacing with planes, pacing by helicopter. Those are demons pacing in police vehicles. That is a picture of mental illness, and it is a picture of terrorism while you witness that, okay? So this is, I just want to be clear, while I document, while I embarrass demons, and remember, the reason why we speak about petty, childish things like embarrassment, because, again, there's no placement for embarrassment for criminal activity. But nonetheless, you're dealing with psychopathic disorders of people that are proud of and accustomed to getting away with murder. Things like serial killings. Things like having sex with children and then claiming that you yourself and your department that you lead will investigate that child rape case. This is an entity that's engaging in corruption. So I am prosecuting, and my not only am I prosecuting, I convicted the Ontario Police Department. So this is a matter of what are psychopaths who are embarrassed while my evidence sits on social media for everybody to peruse through. All right. And this is evidence that Rudy Lopez is in fact targeting me, and he's going to prison for that. All right, there shall be a default term, prison term, for terrorists in the position of Rudy Lopez, formerly occupied by terrorist leader Mike Lorenz, and formerly occupied by terrorist leader Derek Williams. There shall be a default prison term for terrorist leaders in those positions, subject to the level of evidence for the duration of time that I've been maintaining this investigation, combined with the criminal activity that this department has committed against me, let alone by kidnapping me and waging false allegations in doing so. That is, they stalk me, then they defame me in order to kidnap me. Not only did they do that, the entity's engaging in literally criminal activity while I'm at the Wendy's. What are you doing under a fake sun? Everybody sees what's posted on X, right? These demons are embarrassed by that. And while I expose them, meaning while I trigger them, that's where they show you more and more about the legions of demons that possess them. Hence the psychopathic pacing in police vehicles, which renders everyone illegitimate. These are demons who are delusional. They're still out here in denial, being delusional, like you're not being documented for terrorism, like you're not about to go to prison for literally being in the path. They're still engaging in it, and that's fine because you're talking about a bunch of terrorists that are going to be handled while the entity's gang stalking. Okay, but they're in denial. They're literally convicted in your gang stalking. You walk right in front of the camera of the court. The court is like, what's the name of the next defendant? They walk right into, I document the license, but like it's going right. It's like a strict liability basis. Defendant after defendant after defendant being prosecuted for gang stalking. This is the entity that is, under all circumstances, providing what is additional evidence against them because the Ontario police is already convicted. The government is already convicted. The entity is showing you how mentally ill they are while you listen to and you see on video psychopathic pacing. They're psychopaths who are then speeding on HOLT Boulevard, stalking me, not any emergency. They're not rushing off somewhere. They're stalking and monitoring me, and they are demons. They are vagina monitors. These are flesh-eating gargoyles with legions of demons on them. They will be subject to martial law, and they are all of them are being removed from law enforcement, not just fired, removed from law enforcement. 9 PUG 343, stalking with light activity while a demon is stalking at what is Sultana and Hope Boulevard, molesting with impossible light, capturing these images, and so is the Ontario Town Square. That's GL Partners. That's gang stalking and sharing in that sex offense. While the Ontario police are engaging in criminal summoning, the entity is gang stalking in relevant position. That's the B&G Plaza. That's the Shell Gasoline. That's the AutoZone, and everybody gang stalking outside of AutoZone, whose license plates include the following: the defendants that are subject to prison for surveillance at that AutoZone, and they are documented, including the employees inside of that AutoZone. Includes license 9 Thomas Yolanda Thomas 240. Criminal summoning. An entity that's engaging in conspicuous surveillance is one that is engaging in what is a conspiracy to murder with the government. That's why they so boldly engage in that. The entity's engaging in stalking me by helicopter. This is the same defendant that's engaging in that criminal activity at the OVITT Family Community Library. And then this third party is engaging in criminal summoning. This one is going to prison. This is the P.O.C. Remember, it's an entity stalking at the Ontario Civic Center. It's not separate crimes. It's not, oh, that one over there and I have to catch this. No. This is an entity. The population stalking all over the place with the city of Ontario and the military. They're engaging in stalking me by helicopter, and you think you're going to stalk me, and I'm documenting you're going to prison. This is another defendant, license 9 Thomas Yolanda Thomas 240, stalking at AutoZone, federal prison with the Ontario police, the mentally ill, unstable population gang members that are stalking. White male 161426 with the military, while license 9 Thomas Yolanda Thomas 240, he's going to prison. Because that's what that's about. The department stalking me while I document a defendant that's going to federal prison for, again, this state actor that's stalking me while the military flies over as though that's going to stop this third party from prison, and it's not. They're flying over the Ontario Town Square. I'm prosecuting GL Partners for criminal summoning. I'm prosecuting them for conspiring murder as a corporate entity. And everybody that lives in this apartment complex, every single last resident. And it's not just the ones in 2026. GL Partners has quite a hefty case on their hands. I've been documenting them since 2018. And they shall prosecute me they shall be prosecuted and compensate me for the ongoing criminal engagement in the conspiracy to murder while the military is stalking me in concert with them, which I also documented, and I'm documenting now. while the entity is stalking, while I document. Let's go over that license plate again. While he's going to prison, he or she is going to prison, while they are in fact stalking with a government that's stalking me in real time while I document on this podcast. And they are going to federal prison. This is license 9 Thomas Yolanda Thomas 240, and at 9:55 p.m. engaging in criminal monitoring in real time with the intent to retaliate while a co-defendant is documented, and you're going to prison. Okay, you're going to prison. And this is exactly why you're going to prison. The next defendant going to prison, because they're all engaged in that together. This is what psychopaths do. And that's what the Ontario police, they're not a police department. And they're not human. They have legions of demons possessing them. They're psychotic. And it came out in that video where I am prosecuting Wendy's and Skyly. This little 19-year-old girl, she's going to prison. Her life is already over. She's going to federal prison. All right. And she's got a serious case with regard to doing years in prison. She's going to federal prison for terrorism, and she's doing so while she is gang stalking, and doing so with the entity that is engaging in criminal summoning. And there is no defense. There's no negotiation. The Ontario police, the government can't do anything to help Skyly. Skyly can't do anything to get herself out of that. And Skyly would be better off not going to work anymore. She's going to prison, though. She's a demon, very imprudent. And this young girl who is a demon. She's going to federal prison, and she's getting a long term because I've been documenting her serially targeting me and engaging in poisoning me, and also monitoring with the Ontario Police Department. And this is not criminal activity that the entity is going to state they're separate from. And the Ontario, we can't control what the police department. These are demons monitoring together, and you're going down for what your co-defendant, which is already established that is your co-defendant, your partner. In fact, when I identify you, license 9TYT 240, I'm targeted by Plain and that same department who was stalking me under a fake sun, targeting me while I document you. It's co-defendant. You're going to prison, and Skyly's going to prison, and the entity has no defense for what they are engaging in with that department. And this is the entity that's engaging in that while they're keeping the evidence under surveillance, and then they're fools because they're not human. They're mentally ill. And so the entity engaged in what is pacing on Holt Boulevard while they're hostile and embarrassed about what's published on the internet, the fact that they're gargoyles stalking me and monitoring my vagina under a fake sun, and they're embarrassed based on that. And you should be embarrassed, but this is an entity, you've got way more bigger problems than being embarrassed, honey, because you're basically heading for what is being abused in a federal prison. Okay, they're not going to treat gang stalking police officers nicely, and you won't be able to bully anybody with a big old gun on your hip. You're going to be stripped of that. But this is the entity that's engaging in what is gang stalking now, and they're going to be cowering in corners, because I want to be clear. Everybody listen, everybody that's in the federal prisons, they're going to be joining you. These are cowards. So what they get, the treatment that they're subject to in these federal cells, these are cowards that are not under any circumstances gangsters or thugs or courageous while they're gang stalking me. And they are justly treated like the women that you're going to treat them like in federal prison. These are cowards that are gang stalking me, and I'm prosecuting them so that they can join you in federal prison, and you welcome them in the way in which sex offenders are customarily welcomed in federal prison. All right? This is the entity that's engaging in that conduct, and I want to be clear. The defendant, license 9 Thomas Yolanda Thomas 240, is going to prison right along with these demons that are stalking me outside of Wendy's. It's the Ontario Police Department. This is while Rudy Lopez is being federally prosecuted by virtue of that pattern of conduct by that department, which has not changed under any circumstances since Mike Lorenz was replaced. Okay, he's going to prison as a terrorist leader, which is how you're prosecuting domestic terrorism by the corrupt executive branch, engaging the U.S. military's pattern of conduct throughout the state, gang stalking police departments, an oxymoron that is un-American, and domestic terrorism in the state. With this, through this, by this, they commit murder and kidnapping. You're going to prison. That's where you're going. When you engage in what is repeating it, I just read that license plate. They repeated it in real time. While this same third party, is it changing anything? Did I forget? Did I lose my point? Did I change the subject? Am I still on point? Are you still going? Because yeah, they're still going to prison. I have a feeling that it's a homosexual male. That's gang stalking with this license plate, with this Mustang parked at the AutoZone at 9 Thomas Yolanda Thomas 240. I just have a feeling that it's a male species, because these are not humans, these are demons. But this is a demon that's going to prison, and stalking me and playing, and by Ontario police in real time, is called enhancement to charges. These are creatures that do not understand what's happening to them. They don't get a counter argument, and there is no such thing as counter arguing in a court case. This is court. The judge just knows that you're guilty. They're watching you engage in the guilt, engage in the conduct, engage in the behavioral pattern, engage in the criminal activity, in other words. Okay, excuse me. The devil is a liar, does not want me to speak. Okay, so the entities engaging in this pattern of conduct, that was kind of funny. The entity that's gang stalking at AutoZone, I want to document their license plates. The images are captured, and I'm going to put it on X, which is merely a means of displaying terrorists in real time. And it's also a means of almost displaying more additions to the pool of defendants who are subject to prison, and a giving a synopsis of more defendants that are going to prison. That's how I use also the rest of these social media platforms, especially when it's not necessarily in video form. I went and got, it is in video form, and that video evidence is combined with the identification of these third parties who are captured in images at the AutoZone in that video, while the Ontario police and the military are engaging in gang violence in the sky space like they are now. There's no planes over GL Partners, Ontario Town Square. That's the prosecution. Unit number 412, B Street. Unit number 410, B Street in Ontario, California. The Ontario Fire Department is being prosecuted. Unit number 408 at B Street. Unit number 406 at B Street. I'm guessing that's unit number 404. Yeah, and 402 and so forth. The entire complex is being prosecuted. They're flying over. And why aren't they flying on the north side of my person over the city hall? Because they are in fact stalking me. And so is everybody else in that parking lot. And it includes license 9 Thomas Yolanda Thomas 240, while they were stalking in the Wendy's parking lot, a gang of planes. And they're now targeting me with Ontario Town Square townhomes and the Ontario Fire Department. And there are no planes that are ever going to be flying over the fire department from the airport with passengers on them headed to a destination at all. The Ontario Fire Department, every single last one of them are losing their jobs, which they've never been engaged in the first place. They're not firefighters, they're stalkers. So they're all losing their jobs. And the entities also going to be federally prosecuted as terrorists. So merely the ones that engaged in kidnapping with the gang members of the Ontario police, they're going to prison. That's Michael Gerken. He's not keeping a job, and he's going out as a terrorist. But this is the entity that's engaged in that. It's currently, I want to be clear, 10:04 p.m. Remember the license plate that I read of the Ontario police? He was stalking. He was a skinny white boy. License 9 Thomas Yolanda Thomas 240. Let me get a picture. Here you go. Flying right over the people of the state at 410 B Street. Okay? These demons are in their apartments monitoring. Stalking while you see a demon crossing path at B Street. This is where the entity is targeting. This is what they're doing at the OVITT Family Community Library. Okay, that's the prosecution of a whole population. Stalking over Metro 102 apartments, that's MIG real estate, the prosecution of that apartment complex. The entity is doing so over the entirety of the Ontario Civic Center. And the entity is engaging this while I'm at the Wendy's, while Skylee, who's going to federal prison before she's not even 25 yet. And she's going to prison for very serious criminal activity, which is going to haunt her for however much longer she has to live. She's a demon and she's a young demon. But nonetheless, license plate 9 Thomas Yolanda Thomas 240, I believe. Let me read this license plate. By the way, Ontario Fire are gang stalking. The entity's flying over me. I'm right here in front of the Ontario Fire Department. They're all being prosecuted. They're not firefighters. They're being documented right now. They're gang stalking. It's just like stalking me at the Ontario City Hall, and Paul Leon is sitting on the inside of the building. Guess what? That's not a mayor. He's a stalker. A co-conspirator of murder. And while that is proven by evidence within a pattern of conduct, you're not staying in that position, by the way. You're not staying in that position, and you're engaging in that pattern of conduct by virtue of your idiotic P.O.C. It's not genius, it's psychopathic, and it reflects on your character, not the one you're stalking. And this is the entity that's doing so in front of the whole world so that everybody knows how vulnerable the United States is, and how the homosexual cult members are engaging in stalking, not protecting American citizens. I'm referring to the cult members of the military. Okay, license plate. Those that are going to prison, gang stalking at the AutoZone with the Ontario Police Department. They include license plate. And this is the criminal activity that they were engaged in with Ontario Police. You heard that plane you heard that plane activity? They were engaging in what is using sirens and lights as though you're going somewhere. Do you know how absurdly psychotic that is? Now that you're looking at their bare bones purpose, you're just stalking me, and you're turning on your sirens and you're stalking me. This is what LAPD is doing. Criminal summoning is an act of terrorism, criminal monitoring, not the existence of any emergencies. And under the fake sun, where the Ontario Police and the Los Angeles Police Department are documented terrorists, gang stalking me, they're not engaging in any emergency. It's called criminal summoning. They're monitoring spirits. Okay? The Ontario Police, these are psychopaths who are going to be subject to mandatory mental examinations. These legions of demons are the cause for the mental illness, the spirits that possess them. And that's why they are so absurdly psychopathic, which they showed to you on video while they engaged in stalking with light, stalking with noise, and stalking in the path in one vehicle after another, while they're also triggered by the embarrassing evidence, which is prosecuting them for purposes of prison, because everyone that I documented is going to prison. When you can look at the pinned upload on X, I pinned it to my X page. This is the P.O.C. and the Ontario Police, RUDY, LOPEZ. These demons are very triggered by it. They've been engaging in hyper criminal summoning conduct, and you saw it on video. And this is because they're monitoring evidence. And this is, again, the backfire of your own criminal activity. If you weren't monitoring the federal prosecutor, you wouldn't be so triggered by her documentation, which is serving to put you in a mental facility. And that's by design. This entity is going to be committed. But nonetheless, the entity that's gang stalking now is the entity that was doing so using Ontario police vehicles. And that is speaking to criminal activity, regardless of the reason why Wendy's gave me the reason why they're excluding from the restaurant, like they have been as a pattern upon gang stalking with that agency. There is no excuse from the P.O.C. So it's the entity that's threatening my life and harassing me while you're gang stalking for whatever reason you want to come up with, while you look at yourself being documented on the internet, for which Wendy's, the corporation, is compensating me for. But nonetheless, I want to get to these defendants because they're all going to prison. Gang stalking at the AutoZone. License 9 Thomas Yolanda Thomas 240. You can see the images of these license plates, the people of the state who are going to prison for stalking, gang stalking, and furtherance of murder, which is what the Ontario Fire Department is doing right now. License plate 7 Yolanda George Charlie 969. License plate 03222 Kelly 4. License plate. Oh yeah, the employees of AutoZone, that's automatic, federal prison. License 9 Zebra Bob Zebra 087. License 9 Larry George Apple 236. The red Acura Integra. This looks like a Latino male operating, and they were sitting in the corner of that parking lot stalking the entire time, monitoring with the gang members while they engaged in what is stalking by a gang of planes to my left, and also the gang members of the Ontario Police who engaged in pacing on Holt Boulevard, one vehicle after another, while they're engaging in criminal summoning as a means of monitoring me, harassing while I'm documenting Wendy's restaurant, which is engaging in a retaliatory act in the face of prison. Skylie would rather go to prison, while these homosexuals are going to prison also along with her in the same case, rather, because they're going to be not necessarily in the same facility and also not in the same cell, but they're all going together. This population that's gang stalking together is getting locked down together. But the entities engaging in this, while this is the entity's weak effort, and you can't retaliate when you're going to prison. That's not retaliation in effect. It's not. You're being committed. But this is what the entity did with the Ontario Police, and Skylie's willing to go to prison for that, for these things, and that's because they're mentally ill. But this is the reality of that. Let me get the entity stalking over GL Partners. Yeah, there you go. Everybody that lives in the apartment complex, these are townhomes, the entire there's no planes. It's currently, let me give you the time, 10:11 p.m. The entity's migrating. Now they're flying over the town homes. When I'm at the library, that's where they're engaging in hovering over the senior citizen complex. Not even flying over that building. This is the entity that's targeting, because Ontario Town Square is targeting. Okay, Metro 1 and 2 apartments is targeting. These are the apartments that they're now flying over. And I just captured the other day the demons doing the same thing while the fake sun was over the top of my head. That was on Wednesday when the fake sun was shining. Okay, this is the end. It's more than that. I've got the entity under the fake sun setting at this same Ontario Civic Center. But nonetheless, just giving you the latest example. All right, so those defendants that are captured in images, they're also going to be on X in an organized manner, showing you that this is the entity's criminal offense, which equates to federal prison automatically. And they are gang stalking at the AutoZone. Wendy's and all of its employees are already prosecuted for purposes of prison. And those are the defendants on top of the ones at the AutoZone that are engaged in criminal summoning with the kidnappers of the Ontario police. These are stalkers. And they are already convicted, and they're also being disbanded because they are engaging in criminal activity with the population. That is a basis in and of itself to disband any corrupt terrorist agency. Okay, and that's exactly what these agencies are doing. They're engaging in surveillance, which is criminal, and you're sharing in surveillance with the people of the state. You're talking about any and every agency that is documented is under threat of being disbanded. It's a matter of, first of all, if you engage in the criminal acts that which require it as a matter of justice, but it's also within the discretion of any federal court regarding the potential disbanding of any gang stalking police department. It is currently 10:13 p.m. This is the P.O.C. and the entity is going to then engage in, which I documented before. Now they're flying over Ontario Town Square. When I'm going from the library, for example, to the senior center, where are they flying over? They're flying over the parking lot, doing U-turns over the parking lot and flying over the same John Stewart Company apartments. But when I'm at the library, in front of that building on the side, the entity's flying over, not over the town square. They're not flying over these apartments. They're not flying at that distance. You can see the Southwest Airlines logo. You can see the United Airlines logo. You can see the Delta Airlines logo. You can see the UPS logo. They're not flying over here, where the Ontario Town Square are in relevant positions, stalking as an apartment complex, as a townhome housing community. And everybody in this townhome, every single resident is being prosecuted, and the company itself, GL Partners. I'm prosecuting you. Just so that you know, you are criminally liable. I'm holding you civilly and criminally liable under the law, and you are responsible criminally for what the government is doing in concert with you while you profit off of it. The venue itself, while the entity is maintaining that specific environment, vendors that you contract with are gang stalking me, the residents that you're profiting from are gang stalking me, and you yourself, even when you're on the property and being maintaining surveillance with the government, you are being criminally prosecuted for it. It is a pattern of conduct that is already established. I am prosecuting GL Partners. You are listening and learning about it, and I'm going to prosecute you in court. This is the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C., and every resident is also being prosecuted. So that's a case for the actual resident, that's a case for the company itself, and that's a case that the government is engaging in concert with the people of the state. The people of the state are documented as corporate entities. All right, this is the entity that's engaged in that. This is the entity that is gang stalking as a police department. It will be published on X. You're going to see these license plates. You're going to be reminded about the video evidence that is captured and why they're going to prison, in other words. What's the criminal act committed in real time that's going to subject the domestic terrorist that's escalating from prosecution as a terrorist, which is severe enough. Prosecution being and these are creatures that are not but they will learn. They're going to find out, and it's an automatic escalation of federal prison, and those defendants will be documented, published on X. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. It's 10:15 p.m. You're going to review this evidence. You're analyzing it. How many planes flew over the Ontario Town Square audibly? And I captured visual evidence of it. I captured 2 pictures of it. But I believe it was 4 planes. 4. Because when Ontario police is stalking me as I'm identifying the defendant, the entity flew over by plane. Then flew over by plane again, which I captured audibly. And then flew over again and again, which I captured those 2 instances by on camera, if I recollect correctly. Nonetheless, this is why you document. Because we don't have to guess anything. It's all on the record. Okay? That's relevant to the entity that's engaged in it. The Ontario International Airport is being prosecuted for everything and all means of targeting by the city, while the military and the city is engaging what is stalking and levying war against me by targeting me and stalking me, following me around and harassing me by planes and helicopters, which you're committing in furtherance of murder. And remember, this is an entity that's doing so while they thought that they were going to, I don't know, I have no idea how you thought you were going to make me look like I'm some trafficking sex offender that's murdering kids. This is how you know they're psychotic, because first of all, how was that ever going to happen? But for you literally engaging some sort of AI created footage of me looking like me, because it was not going to be me. So, and honestly, I can tell AI from the real thing. It would have to be AI generated on top of departments like the Ontario Police who are stalking me, bearing false witness, and doing so with the people of the state, people like Tracy Banks, who are actual pedophiles, these demons that are committing murder and then lying about what they did. That's the only way that this entity that is gang stalking me, the people of the state that are gang stalking, people like Skyly, who are engaged in child trafficking, murder, That's why she's gang stalking. She's engaging in that. That's what this entity's engaging in, and that's why she's gang stalking. This is why this entity thought that's what they thought they were going to accomplish. And this is one of the reasons why they're gang stalking, as opposed, well, in addition to stealing my money. Okay? Wealth, assets, property, already stolen. And you thought then you were also going to make me look like I'm some child sex, like, murderer or something. No, that's the one that's stalking me in helicopter. They're serial killers. They literally eat human flesh. Then they bury the bodies in the desert in between California and Nevada. And that's after they have sex with them and then put it on the internet, make money off of it. And then they gang stalk the one that they want to frame for that criminal activity. How does gang stalking result in you framing that person? You're claiming that they're purportedly engaging in that, and that's why you put them on the terrorist list, and that's supposed to be the explanation for what is not an interrogation, not asking me any questions about the last kid that I ate up and murdered and raped, but you're merely stalking and harassing me in planes and helicopters. That's not even making legitimate putting an American citizen on the terrorist list. What am I doing while you're stalking me in planes and helicopters? What they do does not even make any sense in the first place. While the Ontario police are showing you that they are fully engaged in that criminal pattern of conduct. Rudy Lopez is going to prison. You're not replacing a terrorist after terrorist after terrorist, and of what you're going to prison, sir. You accepted a position regarding what is the reward of federal prison. You're a terrorist leader. And I am introducing the United States to the prosecution of populations that engage in levying war in the U.S., which is fully provable with evidence that I have against you, Lopez, and I have against that department, and I have against hence the city of Ontario, which is the state of California. And as I prosecute you in the city of Ontario, I'm prosecuting Kern County, Orange County, Los Angeles County, Riverside County, while you're in San Bernardino County, San Diego County. You're already surrounded with evidence, and I haven't lost. You're already convicted, as a matter of fact. While your subordinates, possessed with legions of demons, this is why they have such an uncontrollable mentally ill pattern, obsession with stalking and harassing me, while I document it on video, they're also not too bright, sir. You're going to prison. I'm going to let you know that right now. You're going to federal prison. While you don't like it, it doesn't matter. It's on the internet to put you away. And engaging in more terrorism is the evidence of your mental instability. So you are going to federal prison, just like I told your predecessor, Mike Lorenz, whose fate remains unchanged. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:20 p.m. while I return to the OVITT Family Community Library, which is proof of Skylie's necessary federal imprisonment. While all of that criminal activity follows me back to the original place where I came from, which is at the OVITT Family Community Library, where the Ontario police are engaging in 24-hour surveillance, which they are showing while they engage in what is criminal summoning outside of that Wendy's restaurant in the specific environment with the military stalking in the sky space. Speaking to a method of harassment, again, by Wendy's, there is no explanation or excuse for engaging what is excluding me from the restaurant. And this is not a matter of hurting feelings or engaging in retaliation. Rudy Lopez, what you all need to know is that this is a demon as well and who is mentally ill. So he's full throttle running at 500 miles per hour off of the precipice to federal prison. Okay, because if there were any concern about going to prison, because it's not a contingency, it's not a chance, it's a guarantee. You're going to prison. He's going to prison. I'm telling everybody because it's exactly what's happening. He's going to federal prison, and in the face of that, he is still engaging in terrorism, including while any officer of that department is gang stalking me. Rudy Lopez is going to prison for it. You're a terrorist leader. Terrorist leaders and the terrorists that are engaging in that pattern of conduct as a department are all going to prison for it. Okay, so the entities engaged in that, and you're sharing in the pattern of conduct, the criminal conduct of Mike Lorenz and Derek Williams before him, and you are going to prison, all right, for the pattern of conduct that I documented proof of. You're going to prison for it. All right, so the entity is engaging in that, and this is the entity that is psychopathic, and they prioritize what is engaging in having to do something to make themselves feel better, even if that's something that makes them feel better. It's only a second, because once I start speaking to the ignoramuses that they are, the creatures that they are, the idiots that they are, engaging in it on video for me to prosecute you, and engaging in it via podcast for me to prosecute you with it. It is, in fact, a hollow effort, which is giving me more evidence to put Rudy in prison for longer, because that's my goal. I want you in prison, and I don't want you getting out. In case you did not know what we're doing here. All right, so the entity is engaging in this conduct, and the entity is doing so while they are monitoring the evidence of the prosecutor, and that's just relevant context. You don't have to have a reason or an excuse as to why a police department is stalking and harassing you. But what it is reasonably resulting in is murder and kidnapping. And that's how you're going to be prosecuted, while you are conspiring murder, while this entity is engaging. Don't forget, these are demons that are committing, they're trafficking children. And they tried to frame me. There is evidence, which is why Rudy Lopez is going to prison. There is evidence while Skyly and Wendy's restaurant is gang stalking me now, while these demons are gang stalking in the AutoZone parking lot, targeting me. These are demons that engage in child trafficking, engaging in murdering children. And they thought that they planned to, the purpose of this is not only to get away with what they've already done, stealing my money, stealing my identity to steal my money, and gang stalking me in order to cause me to appear to be crazy, because they didn't know that I already had a case against the government proving that you're gang stalking, which is relevant context and also evidence of a motive regarding your false allegations that you never told me about. Because you're not conducting any investigation of an alleged terrorist by putting them on the terrorist list and just then gang stalking me. What have you done in furtherance of finding out whether I actually murdered a kid and then I trafficked them? I guess I'm burying body parts. I'm consuming their fluids. I put them on the internet. I did all that. I'm a single woman, unmarried, but totally not even fitting the psychological profile of any of that. Nothing in my past remotely close to it. Never done anything like that other than document gang stalking, which is not anyone's imagination, okay? And this is the entity that actually engages in the criminal acts that they have defamed my name. And remember, they secretly defamed me. Nobody said this to my face. Shanita never said anything to me about being a sex offender. She never accused me of being some sort of sex addict or a prostitute or a drug addict or violating children. She trusts me with her kids that are grown gang stalkers now. Okay, I've been watching her kids, which I won't even name anymore. I won't name them. That's fine. They grew up to be just like their demon-possessed mother. That's between them and the Lord God that they're going to answer to. But I've known them since they were little kids, and there's never been a problem with me being some sort of weirdo pervert. And I find that to be very interesting that it was never brought to my attention. That's the same with Eric Spencer, who is supposedly my brother, but actually lying about what is his relation to me, which he's aware of, while Tracy Banks isn't even my biological mother, which he's also aware of that as well. Lying about your relation to me, that's relevant to your stating that I'm supposedly some sort of pedophile, while I just so happen to be maintaining a public investigation because the government is a liar and a murderer and a kidnapper. And it will not be a matter of Erica disappeared and Erica didn't know. Erica was prosecuting for criminal surveillance, which she remains subject to. And Erica would never do anything to herself or to anyone else, but I will prosecute you. I will prosecute you mercilessly. Okay? So the entities engaged in this while they thought, which will never work. Gang stalking somebody does not make them guilty of your crimes. And this government is engaged in trafficking children, kidnapping them, having sex with them, murdering them, and so are the people of the state that are stalking me with that government. And the Ontario police, they're a part of that criminal activity, very much personally invested in gang stalking me, which again, you've already lost in that endeavor. No one is entertaining any notion that I'm any sort of pervert, stalker, weirdo, except for being weird because I'm able to handle such a large body of evidence and information at one time as one person with no assistance, and I'm prosecuting you in an orderly fashion. If you want to call that weird, I don't find that to be precise whatsoever, but some people lacking the ability to articulate thoughts precisely might use the word weird. That's neither here nor there. But there will never be any mistaking for who Erica Spencer is and what she's even capable of while I'm maintaining this investigation. It does not even make sense on its face, nor does it, nor do the allegations, nor are they supported by your clear harassment, which is not an investigation for the allegations that were never even told to me. However, my allegations, they are fully proven and they're published for the world to witness. Isn't that interesting? Very, very interesting. Who's actually conducting an investigation here? Who is actually conducting an investigation while you see them actually stalking the Ontario Police Department? And who's going to prison for it? Oh, you're going to prison, Lopez, for more than just gang stalking. There's context as to why you're targeting. And it's evidence that you are mentally ill. In case you don't understand, this is being used regarding your mind state. How you are a threat to yourself and everyone around you, including the public, while that department is engaging in this deranged pattern of conduct, where you have engaged in, as an entity, trafficking children, having sex with children, selling them, consuming their body parts and their fluids, and also engage in what is burying their bodies while you seek to get away with criminal activity. This is relevant to a criminal system that's international, that the United States military, who are cult members, they're hitmen, they're pedophiles, they're homosexuals, they're perverts. This is why they're so psychotic. This is why after I capture a video and they want to duck and hide in the plane, and the moment that I end that video, then there they are as I just press record again, and they're doing a cartwheel, trying to duck and dive. They're psychotic. They're psychotic. That is what is consuming the flesh of children. And that baboon thought that they were going to make me even appear as though I'm capable of engaging, or that I actually did engage in any criminal activity whatsoever, let alone violating children, kidnapping children. I'm some sort of murderer of children, and I'm some fraud. I'm stealing people's identity. Everything that they're accusing me of is what they did. They, the entity that is gang stalking me. And I mean that. They're going into the library. They are very much invested. Those are not strangers that are gang stalking. These are not strangers. These are people that have committed criminal activity, and they're invested in gang stalking me because they are delusional, because it's not going to happen. But they're still doing it with the purpose of, the reason why you gang stalk is because you're trying to successfully accomplish that crime, which is getting to what? Trying to render the target individual as illegitimate. Oh, they're crazy. Don't believe anything. That this is not going to happen. It's not going to happen, but I'm dealing with crazies. These are creatures. And you know that. This is the demon possessed. They are inherently inferior. Literally. It's impossible. They were never going to be successful. But this is for your benefit. This is for your benefit, you witnesses. But the purpose of gang stalking is to render to target, first of all, as illegitimate. They make your reputation as one that's crazy. Oh, everybody's talking about you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy. That's why they gang stalked in the first place. All of that presupposes that there is no evidence of the P.O.C. All of it rests on that presupposition. We don't have that. We are in the real world, where you will be prosecuted with tangible evidence regarding what is a fact, not what all gang members together agree on in the absence of any evidence other than just relying on the fact that someone in some position of authority says that it's so. Oh, that must be so. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that at all. In fact, those same authority figures are the ones that I'm prosecuting. Those are the ones that I'm prosecuting profusely, in order to make a greater point. There is no authority figure. There is no presumption of innocence. There is no superiority to the law. There is no respecter of persons, particularly when you know what we're dealing with. This is literally scripture that's informing this prosecution. The Lord God is no respecter of persons. And guess what's happening under federal law? You will not be treated any differently. You're a vagina monitor while you're gang stalking and collecting welfare. You're a vagina monitor while you wear a robe sitting on a bench, gang stalking. And I will equally disrespect you as I prosecute you under the federal law. You will be equally disrespected because you're animals. The entities engaged in this conduct, and they are doing so for the purpose of trying to depict me as one that is capable of kidnapping and murdering and violating children by gang stalking me, which was intended to depict me as being unstable. And from that false premise, from that act of defamation, criminal defamation, that is where they would go, oh, not only is she crazy, she did all this. She kidnapped these kids. She murdered these kids. They were going to throw in some AI footage of me, making me look like I'm committing a violent sex act against a child, and that I'm the reason that child is dead, missing. I'm the one that's been engaged in this for years. I'm also a drug addict, and I'm a prostitute, and all my friends know that. Shanita knows that. Carrie knows that. Morgan Amanda Smith knows that. You got Erica Howell, child. If you went into court defaming my character, you go into prison. This is the entity that's engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they went in defaming my character. This is a system that the government engages in. It has zero legitimacy. Why would you be doing this when you know you're going to be in a courtroom talking about I'm not guilty and I didn't know and I just thought that, and we had a call, and that's why the sirens were ringing, and we were going down to their house over there, and we didn't even know that the targeted individual. You're going to prison. You're going to prison. You're stalking me in helicopters down the street, fool. You're going to prison. Rudy Lopez, you're going to prison. And I'm calling you sir because I'm a professional, okay? And also because I am a Christian and I want as many people to listen to this podcast, okay? And so I can't describe you in terms that you are actually worthy of without sinning against the Lord God. You're not worth it. You are going to prison, sir. You're going to federal prison. This is an entity that's engaged in that, and they're doing so while they have absolutely zero legitimacy. They are counting down the hours to the moment when you're getting raided. And I mean the neighborhoods. Your little welfare collecting apartment complex. Your little ghettos sleeping behind the dumpsters. Be careful because the feds are coming. They're coming. They know who you are. They know where you're at. They're watching you, monitoring my vagina. That's how heavy it is. While you're gang stalking like nothing's going to happen. And you know why? Because you are actually mentally ill. This is the unprecedented basis under the United States Constitution for martial law in 2026. They're going to be subject to martial law. The government that is framing American citizens for criminal activity. Do you understand how many people have died based on this, which has been going on for centuries? Do you understand how many people have been locked up in mental facilities long before the Civil Rights Act was passed? Claiming that they're mentally ill, locking them up because they're spiritually gifted. And I want to be clear, a lot of the melanated people, spiritually gifted, this is why they were targeted with slavery. This is why they were defamed and put in mental institutions. It is not a black thing because Satan is using those of all races, and since all of the mixing that Satan intentionally engaged in order to mix around, which the Lord God is not mixed around about anything. He knows who you are. Your identity is in him, not in your skin color. And that's why you cannot label down, oh, you are this because your skin color is that. No, that's not what happened. There's been a whole bunch of mixing and it's not confusing. The Lord God knows who you are. Where you show up, wherever you show up in that cursed bloodline, he knows exactly who you are. There is nothing that Satan can do. And he tried everything. You're talking about for centuries, people that died in mental institutions. And you know what? They locked them up in those institutions so that they can rape them serially every night. And who's going to listen to them because they're mentally ill? They're trapped, and the demons that work in those mental institutions are raping them, beating them, and then denying them, calling them, okay, you need to take your meds, or gaslighting them while they're being abused, while being locked up. That's what's stalking me in helicopter. I am not making that up. What are these cowards doing? They stalking a helicopter the moment that I start recording. What are you witnessing? Oh, they're flying off. Those are cowards that are going to be abused like you need to be in federal prison when you get locked up because you're going. You're going. That's what's happening. You're going. There's an entity that's engaged in that. You are reaping for what you've been engaging in for centuries. Are you ready? Because it's coming. It's coming. And it is literally the will of God. The entities engaging in this, and this is the wicked system run by demons who make up a corrupt U.S. government that are the people of the state as well. The city of Ontario has sacrificed itself. Remember, the city of Ontario is merely illustrative about what the whole state of California, including the governor and the neighborhood that he lives in, that are gang stalking. Meaning they're engaging in surveillance, targeting. Do you know what happens if I go to the mayor's mansion? If I go to the governor's mansion? Do you understand it will be absolutely no different? This is the entity that is engaging in the pattern of conduct. They're demons that fill up the entire state of California. And this is why the military, the police are fully capable and welcome. Feel very comfortable. On video, where an American citizen is providing proof of it. And literally, even at this point in an investigation, you're still getting in planes and not concerned about what evidence against you're still engaging. This is an entity that's going to be prosecuted and subject to martial law. Nobody is stealing my money. Nobody's going to hijack any sort of... this is the entity, by the way, that is stalking over the Ontario Town Square townhomes and is right back to flying what is north of that location, not flying over the Ontario Town Square, flying over John Stewart Company. That is speaking to what is stalking by the Ontario police while they're flying over the Ontario Town Square townhomes as I'm documenting that defendant at AutoZone who's going to prison with the Mustang. That is speaking to that Ontario police that is stalking, engaging criminal summoning on Holt Boulevard while Skyley is gang stalking me at the Wendy's, while Wendy's is engaging in what is an unlawful act. Because you're not free to exclude upon gang stalking. It's a means of harassment, and I'm going to prosecute you for it. This is an entity that doesn't know the law. They don't understand. They have no idea what they're subject to. You're not free to be at the traffic light, in other words. It's not traffic. It's not freedom of speech. It's surveillance, and you're not free to engage in that. While you do so, however, but understand the severe consequences, including while you're listening to the entity in real time, that's speaking to the entity that is in real time. Listening and monitoring. That's what the Ontario police engaged in real time while I was on Holt Boulevard. As I refer to the fact that you're foolishly getting in planes and you're still doing that while you're being, okay, do you understand how much you're being watched and what you're going to be, and at this level of evidence, this is what you're doing? And you're the one that's engaging in killing children and you thought you were going to blame Erica Spencer while you are stalking at this? You are psychotic. You're psychotic. You're going to the place where they put people under that's where you're going. That's how serious it is against you. And these are psychos that have murdered tons and tons and tons of people. They kill people. They kill them. They kill them. And that's why you got a population of people that are scared to speak on it. They're all demons too. It doesn't matter. Okay? If it wasn't for fear, it'd be for some other reason that they would not be speaking. They're demons. The entities engaging in this conduct, and they are gang stalking me, which is not speaking to what they will not be able to testify to in court. Why am I on a terrorist list? Because the court will see, okay, so if she's on the terrorist list, what did you do with regard to your investigation in furtherance of investigating this potential terrorist who is an American citizen who you fully have access to? You clearly know where she's at and what she's doing. What has consisted of your investigation of this so-called terrorist? And the evidence is the P.O.C. They've engaged in no investigation. Stalking, like you're listening to, is not investigating a potential terrorist. That's not investigating. That's not acting in any furtherance of any. That's not under any circumstances. You don't put somebody on the terrorist list and then you just follow them around with planes. That's not has anything to do with substantiating why they're on that terrorist list and what you are doing in order to secure what is the result regarding confirming that they are in fact a terrorist. And the entity's been doing this. Remember, my evidence starts in 2018 in Pomona, California. Why is Pomona, California stalking me by planes and helicopters? In 2018, because that's what the evidence shows. Why are they doing that? I mean, gang, but all manner of gang. And what does that terrorism have to do with putting me on the terrorist list? You're acting like we're somewhere out in Bosnia. Second of all, I'm an American citizen and I articulate my thoughts and feelings very well. Somebody could have just asked me a question, but did they do that? Oh, no, they did not. These gargoyles are over here speaking gibberish about that which they can't even spell. Okay? They can't even spell trespass. They can't even spell it. Is it one S or two S? Hold on, because nobody's asked that question before. But my point is, the bigger point is, the entities engage in what is stalking. You're not a police department. And moreover, we can go through and scrutinize your tactics, your methods. This is straight up and down surveillance. While you're trying to frame me for your own criminal activity, no, honey, you're going to prison for killing babies, for having sex with them, and making money off of it. And then creating AI content and having demons like Tracy and Jason Fields and Eric Spencer and Tommy Allen Banks. Literally every single last one of them sex offenders. And those that formerly working with me, none of them in any position to speak of me. I don't have any personal serious relationships with these people that I work with because they were all creating a poor work environment. And I did not stay there for a very long time because of that. And that's because they are the people of the state gang stalking me. Moreover, they're not even in a position, but that's not being addressed. That's not being looked into. The gang stalking entity needs people to sit their butts in that gang stalking courtroom and lie on my character while they bring forth AI generated content about criminal activity that they engaged in order to get away with murder and child rape and trafficking and what is theft of my money and property by defaming my character and falsely accusing me. And that's because they're envious of me because I'm able to do this right here. Prosecute in Jesus' name. And let you know with my eyes closed, they're demons. And I'll tell you how you know that they're demons. That's why they're engaging in that. And they're fools that give me evidence that you are witnessing in real time that they're nothing but stalkers. Nothing but stalkers. Who does that? Other than Satan himself, who was a dog, a creature, an idiot. And then you sit around listening to me speak the truth about you, and all you can do as an inferior creature is give me more evidence to have you locked up. Because that's where you're going. You're going to be locked up. Are you ready? Because it's happening. And not only are you getting locked up, you're not getting out. You're not getting out. You're not doing 2 to 5. No, you're not getting out. You're not getting out of prison. And terrorist leaders like Rudy, Lopez, I don't care if you're on the job for 32 days, by the time that you face this, what I'm telling you about now, you're not going to prison. It's not going to be based on how many days you occupy that office. It's based on the severity of the crime, the unlawful threat that an American citizen has a right to not be subject to, that which you are fully, knowingly, and intentionally engaging in, that you are continuing. You're going to prison based on what the law mandates as a matter of justice as a terrorist leader, engaging what is conspiring murder by virtue of that department that you're in leadership over, engaging you are gang stalking me to commit murder. I don't care if you're on the job for 2 weeks, you're going to prison, and you're going to prison for a substantial amount of time. And that's so other vagina monitors across the globe, they get the message. Can you hear me now? Because if you engage in this is the treatment you're getting. This is what's going to happen to you. And everybody sees you. Nephilim, everyone sees you, Satan. Everyone sees you. The blind can see you. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity stalking at the Ontario Civic Center, following around. And this little girl, Skylie, she's going to prison. It's so sad. All right, it's currently 10:43 p.m. This is P.O.C.